Friends, if you're looking for real old school laughs, you're in for a treat because we've got them right here. Flip City Magazine. Remember Mad Magazine? Then it went woke? Well, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today. Good morning, kids. We got to another end of the week. It's Friday. Welcome to Midnight's Edge in the morning. We are live on YouTube and Rumble. So, yes, indeed, we're in 2 separate places here. Welcome to the program. We have with us this morning 6, helping me handle the controls in the background here. How are you doing? That's pretty much it.
I have a bit of a headache, but other than that, I'm doing well.
And thank God Paul did that, because I'm sure that made it better.
Yeah, it helped. Thanks, Paul.
But yes, indeed. We also have with us 2 Canadians, and I don't know why. We have Paul Chato below me here, acting like he just had some sort of stroke.
I'm Vincent D'Onofrio
He's just doing this
from
Andre's
from
not here.
Men in Black.
Men in Black 1.
Paul's wearing a Chato suit.
One of the greatest performances of all time. Should have been nominated for an Academy Award.
He was wearing a suit, kind of like an Egger suit.
What? Fisk gets killed off in Echo? What the fuck? Really?
Spoilers.
I don't give a shit.
I heard she gets magic native hands too.
Wow. Anyway, sorry. What a let's
Magic.
kill off
She's got some
the
native
really
girl
good
magic.
bad guys. Like
Probably because
Okay.
Vincent's like, fuck, you guys ruined my character. Just
Probably.
kill me.
and I'm
Go ahead,
tired of
Script.
gaining weight just to do this.
We have the other
Anyway,
Canadian here, the script doctor himself. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Staying warm. It's +1 where I am. So
it's
that's
-40 in Calgary.
Yeah. And they've got snow. We don't
Yeah.
have any snow where I am.
No, we're not.
We have a ton of snow right now, but he says he's going to be late. We actually start close to on time, and look who actually shows up early.
Oh, finally.
Ish.
Well,
Great.
it's a little bit late.
Good
But
morning.
anyway, yeah, no, I'm glad to see that you're alive. That's fantastic.
You should have thrown
Actually-
a tantrum, Andre. What the hell are you guys doing getting on before me? No one gets on the show until I come on.
No,
What the
no,
hell?
I'm glad if we're start on time with or without.
No, he
me.
tells me to get going no matter
I
what.
know.
He's like,
good.
you just
Andre's
go.
a good boss.
He's not like me. I'll get egotistical and stuff. Like, how can you start without me?
I'd hate to work for you, Tom.
I know. I hate to work for me too.
Tom, that's the most honest thing you've ever said.
It's true.
No,
I don't
actually, that
lie.
is
Why
true.
would I
think
lie? I don't lie.
If Tom was Tom's employee, Tom would be a very unhappy employee.
That's right.
Yes and no.
He'd be telling himself to stop interrupting himself. Zing, zing, zing.
I think my employee would be afraid to do that.
Yeah, this is true. Then it's a matter of which Tom is the probably boss Tom is going to be more.
Alter ego Tom.
Yeah, probably.
Tom knows how to read the room sometimes.
Yeah, this is true.
But anyway, as
This is why we
autistic
have
as he may
6
be,
to keep you in.
this is true. We have 6 and other people who help Tom read the room sometimes. This is very
That's right.
true.
Because
But
the people out there don't read the chats.
no, we were
What the
going
hell are you
to
doing? Stop it.
we were going to talk a little bit about the George Carlin stuff before
Yeah.
you got here, Andre, because we weren't sure if you'd really be
Well, go for it. Don't let me stop you.
all interested in that anyway, because we were talking about it before the show, and we're like, this is actually becoming a bigger discussion than everybody thought. We talked about it last night on Midnight's Edge After Dark a little bit too, but yeah. So, are you aware of this, Andre, or anything? Do you know what we're talking about?
Well, I know that there was some kind of recent George Carlin special in which he came back from the dead to tell everyone that he was right or something. I only saw like a headline. I didn't click to read what it was about. So if it's some AI thing or some actor or that, I don't know. But I know that for whatever reason we have, AI George Carlin. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay, so I wasn't sure if you really knew much about this. So what happened is this?
I know the gist. As you say, I've seen headlines, but I haven't read
This
the story in
YouTube channel
detail.
put out this hour-long comedy special that claims to be an AI impression of George Carlin, and what he would say if he was still alive today. And of course, everybody knows Paul and I are huge comedy fans, and Script's a writer, so we were just discussing this whole thing. We were debating on
And
whether
a
or not
comedy fan, by the way. He is a comedy fan.
he
Yeah,
is, of
I've
course,
actually
but I
worked
mean,
with famous comedians before.
this is true. This is true. I just meant that, like, Paul and I have had a lot of conversations about stand-up comedians and stuff over the last.
And I happen to be the most famous comedian on this panel.
This is very true. But it was just ironic that this started making the news the night that I watched Eddie Murphy Raw and Delirious for the first time in probably a decade. So I was reminded how good stand-up was supposed to be. And I have all the 14 George Carlin specials as well. I'm trying to remember if I've seen all of them, but I'm sure I have over the years. But no, so I watched this whole hour-long thing just to kind of see what it was all about. And it's really just an AI voice with AI images for an hour.
I had to just turn off the picture and listen to it. I could not
Yeah.
stand the AI.
Yeah, you can kind of
animation
listen to it
and
like an
image.
old school album, like we used
Yeah,
to. back
but
in the
they were
day.
obnoxious. I mean, the AI stuff just got really tiresome
Yeah.
very quickly. So I don't know what kind of entertainment value they thought that was going to come out of that.
So, I mean, I did play a little bit last night, and I don't think I got hit with anything. So we can play maybe like a couple minutes of it here, if that, just to kind of
we
give you
can
guys an
try.
Their
idea.
boss. What happened to the American?
Okay, so like evidently I was way back here before, but here's probably one of the better bits, I guess, of the whole thing, if you can say that. So I'll be fair to them and show that.
Because Americans love reality TV. Like it or not, it's the lifeblood of American culture. It's got the 4 basic food groups of the standard American media diet: fighting and crying and fucking and dying.
Oh, and the laugh track just
The
Yeah, the
James
laugh
Webb
track's
Telescope
horrendous.
is sending back crystal clear images of light from stars that died billions of years ago. Stars that were formed in the crucible of creation. These are snapshots of the birth of the known universe, the moment existence itself was born. And nobody gives a shit. Because a picture of space has no fighting, no crying, no fucking, no dying. If you want the American public to pay attention to something, it's got to have at least a little fighting, a little crying, a little fucking, or a little dying.
Yeah, so that's just a kind of a brief,
yeah.
kind of.
I gotta send you a monologue that Chris Bauer did as a character on a show, Tom, because when you
Yeah.
hear that, you're gonna be like, that is exactly what this AI sounds like.
I'll probably agree with you because, like, I'm pretty good at picking that kind of stuff out.
I have
voice-wise.
one question to this, to those of you who know George Carlin, because like I know him by reputation. I actually first learned of him through you guys. I think he was not on my radar at all until Tom alerted me to him. And then I saw like some of his work. This whole bit about there's a big club and you're not in it, so very prescient about certain stuff right there. But I'm curious, for those that have seen his work, how did this alleged AI hold up? Does this seem like something that George Carlin would have said if he were to be brought back from the dead through necromancy in this day and age?
Okay, you asked
Not
2 different
really.
questions there. Okay, so the first question, does it actually sound like him? No, not really. It sounds like if it is an AI and it's not somebody doing a voice impression, it sounds like an AI trying to figure out what he would sound like now while only having access to his 14 previous comedy specials and kind of amalgamizing his voice. Because there's bits that kind of sound like him, then there's points where it doesn't sound anything like him. So it's kind of me. And as far as like the jokes themselves, oh fuck no, it's like way off. This is like
Yeah, that's what I was interested
somebody copying his homework kind of shit. Um, it's there's bits in here that he would have come up with, like the fight and fucking dying thing that he would have come up with something kind of like that. But it even feels like somebody stretching to try and be like George Carlin. And then there's points where it gets very politically biased and or it's only pulling information from the internet, which is all left-wing media. So it's like very like the facts and certain things that it gets are way off. But again, I'm sitting here questioning, is this actual AI? Was it generated by AI whole whole cloth 100%, which they're claiming, which I don't believe. I think it was pre-written and then fed into a voice modulator thingy of some type.
That's what I was thinking. That
Because either that or they trimmed away all the bullshit. Because you would get jokes that don't even make sense to human beings after all. Because
AI can only write jokes that already exist.
Yeah.
That's
that's the other problem
AI
I have with
right
this.
now. So
exactly, yeah.
Like the fart leaving her husband, right? That's an old joke. I've heard that by other comedians many times.
Yeah, a lot of these bits are nothing new that he hasn't really done similar versions of before in the past. You got that point correct. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the telescope. He, obviously he didn't do a routine about that because it didn't exist back when.
No, but the whole idea that people are obsessed with celebrity, he's done plenty of bits like that before.
So my biggest problem with it is the cadence. It seems like the system took the tone and variations from his kind of anti-big government bit, or I'm trying to remember the name of the bit, but where he tells all of us that we really don't have freedom, if we think we have freedom, that famous bit. And that has a certain kind of push and anger, and this whole thing is done the same way. There's no light moments, and that put me off also. But the thing that I brought up while we were off air was, is this legal and is it entertaining? And if we think that, dancing muskrats are entertaining on YouTube and on TikTok, we're living in an age where will there be a following and a group of people who would be interested in something this lame? Because it is what it is, and someone will find enjoyment in this. That is the bigger concern I have.
Oh yeah, there are people in the comments who do, because I said something in the comments and I had some come back at me like, oh, okay, boomer kind of thing, bullshit. It's like, no, this is kind of wrong in a lot of ways, and I'm in ways that I don't know if we can articulate yet, because this is the first time we've ever been to a place like this.
But we could literally be overwhelmed with Richard Pryor stuff.
Right.
Someone sits down and writes the material. Obviously, I'm just going to say this for the benefit of the individual that made this video. It would have been really helpful if they themselves took this material to a stand-up place, worked it, and then brought it back and then created this special.
But here we are.
What you see in a George Carlin show is stuff that has been worked out in front of a live audience. It's not stuff that he's come up with from the top of his head without actually.
And it's missing the sophisticated language and play on words that George Carlin has. Like, it just doesn't have that sense of, like, the famous thing where it's quite funny how you can talk about how I went to have my pants altered and, I saw something scary and altered my pants. Like, you don't get those types of jokes from this AI that Carlin actually does. He has fun with language, and this AI does not have fun with language.
Yeah, and here's what I get from this now. If Paul's correct, and what this is actually somebody wrote it, and they are like, a wannabe stand-up comedian, and they're like, well, this material is good, but it'd be even funnier if it was George Carlin. And we can because here's the thing, don't make any mistake, because I think that is a valid question, Paul, on whether or not this is legal, because they do have this intro here, which they think is going to cover their ass.
I don't think so.
Hello, my name is Dudesy, and I'm a comedy AI. What you're about to hear is my second hour-long special.
And I'd like to kill.
It says it's his second hour long. I don't know. I couldn't find his first hour long special.
What you're about to hear is not George Carlin. It's my impersonation of George Carlin that I developed.
But the difference is now this thing has had how many million views almost, or up over 1 million views now? Okay, 268,000 views and growing.
And that's just in the last couple days. It'll be up to 1 million views.
And we're going to help it grow bigger. But
unfortunately, and that's what I don't want. But
yeah, but
that being said, my point. Let me finish this real quick.
Sorry.
That's all right. This is no different to me than you can't come up with something fucking new. Like all the fucking stuff in Hollywood where they're constantly dragging in their old IPs and interjecting their new bullshit in it. That's to me the equivalent of this. Only they are literally taking the dead body of somebody and their voice and their image and going, here you go. And they're profiting off this. And I think you're right. I think his family should get involved with this because I don't think this is right. And I don't think that anybody should be able to do this. And even them, even if they were doing this themselves, his family, I would say you are fucking sick to do this.
And my point is that even though they tried to indemnify themselves with that intro, you can't do an hour of someone and say, "Oh, this is just a thing we're doing." That to me is completely illegal. If they went, okay, we're just going to do 5 minutes of stuff that kind of sounds like George Carlin, you can get away with it. But you can't do an hour long. Now that indemnification just will not work. You have now crossed the line. You are now pretending to be George Carlin. Fuck off.
Yeah, and the family did respond, and that's kind of what got more attention to it, I think. Because his daughter did come out and say, there's one line of work, or no, where did I hear? Okay, here it is. My dad spent a lifetime perfecting his craft from his very human life brain and imagination. No machine will ever replace his genius. These AI-generated products are clever attempts at trying to recreate a mind that will never exist again. Let's let the artist's work speak for itself. Humans are so afraid of the void that we can't let what has fallen into it stay there.
But this is going to proliferate. They're going to take John Wayne or people that are maybe in the public domain, and this is now going to become a big deal. There's just no way around it. The thing that I think is going to be interesting is when people come up with AI versions of AI versions of AI versions.
Well, we already have that music, Paul.
What?
We already have that music.
Oh, yeah, it's true.
Were you here the day where I said that I was in a store and I heard some song that was sampling Sweet Fantasy by Mariah Carey, which is already sampling Tom Tom Club. So I said, we have songs now that are sampling songs that are sampling songs that are sampling songs. And the lady at the counter says, well, you can't, sometimes everything's already been used and you just got to, no, I'm like, no, bullshit. There's millions of different variations. Write something new is exactly what I said when I grabbed my bag and I walked out the door. And what pissed me off even more was this lady was like my age. And I'm like, how the fuck can you say that? Like, you grew up with this shit.
Yeah. And
like,
you know what? We used to make fun of Muzak. Right. We thought that's the worst. Now I think, we're getting new pop music that's worse. I remember standing in an elevator once. I'm going, okay, what's that song? That's a weird Muzak song. It was a instrumental version of the Beatles' Why Don't We Do It in the Road? I'm going, oh my God. Like, it's Why Don't We Do It in the Road?
Might as well be Me So Horny by the fucking... I grew at that point.
So if you want to hear the real George Carlin, if you can do me the pleasure, I'm just going to do this quick thing, and you tell me whether this little paragraph is funnier than what you just heard. The filthy, dirty news. I'm going to try to do a George Carlin announcer. It's 6 o'clock time for Action 6 News with Leslie Crotchmonger and Dick Hopsteckler. Here's Leslie with today's top stories. Good evening. First, the headlines. A giant man shits on Philadelphia. An old man shows his soiled anus to a waitress at an Olive Garden. A small dog eats a man's balls and dies. A crippled couple is arrested for fucking a roller coaster.
And we're demonetized.
Yeah, right. Now, can you do the 7 words you can't say on TV?
Yeah, sorry. But I mean, that's George Carlin. I mean, I'm sorry for laughing all the way through it.
I remember when that book came out.
And nothing I heard had that, things like, Leslie Crotchmonger. He loved words. He loved those.
He loved vocabulary. He was fascinated
vocabulary, by it. Yeah.
Yeah, when the word processor came about, there's like an hour documentary of just him talking how much he loved the word processor because it was so much easier for him to have fun with his sets before he started working them in public. Like he can move paragraphs in one order to another. He could go back and cite what he said before and make a better runner joke all the way through. He loved the word processor.
Oh, look at his output of books and things.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, and he wasn't afraid to try out jokes in his books that flopped, maybe in front of an audience, but he stuck them in a book, and man, that's a very funny book. I was reading it on the subway once, and I was just howling with laughter, and people thought I was nuts.
What are you talking about? That's normal for Toronto subway.
It is now. Yeah. So the main thing is, I think they crossed the line. I don't think you can do it for an hour and claim that, oh, this is just a George Carlin experiment. But I guarantee you this, it's going to be people are going to be entertained by it if they're not entertained by it now, especially people who don't know the history of George Carlin.
Well, I got here 22 hours of George Carlin entertainment that you can get for around $50.
Wow.
That's all of his specials and a whole bunch of his television stuff besides his specials. So you got all 14 HBO specials on here. And you got stuff from the CBS Talent Scouts, the Hollywood Palace, Jackie Gleason Show, the Comedy Store, the Comedy and Magic Club. So you got even more stuff there.
I don't think you could watch all the stuff you own, Tom.
No, I never could. It never could. This is not mine. This is the Midnight's Edge library.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I measure my lifetime in how many cars I've got left that I can purchase. And maybe think I have only one left.
You only have one butt, so how can you drive so many cars?
Well, yeah, and the cars last, 10 years. You go, that's it. I got one car left. I might as well just get brass handles on it so it can be stuck in the grave just all at once. No.
That'd be nice,
easier than dealing with everything.
You die, stick them in the car, just like the pallbearers, grab them by the handles of the car, stick them in the grave, you're done. No
occupy your wife's plot, so she has to buy another one that's further away.
If I was to come to
I just put her in the trunk script.
If I was to be a part of your funeral, would I be a pallbearer?
An appalling pallbearer.
An appalling pallbearer?
That's right.
But yeah, no, I just thought we'd discuss that just a little bit. I mean, we're all kind of.
That's worth discussing. I think we're going to see a proliferation of this stuff now. Of course, I'm sick and tired of the AI art. That to me, that candy ass art is now. I'm done with it.
There's something about it. Sure, for a quick thumbnail or image here and there, it's fine. But like, it will never replace, in my opinion, true art.
Yeah,
there's something soulless about it.
No, the farther you drive down, the taste and the ability of the general public to understand what's good, you're going to get it. This is where we're going to get, what is the big spaceship they had in WALL-E? I
don't remember it, but
I can't remember the name, but I know you're talking about
that future. Yeah,
but that's
dumping it down of the people,
which is what Hollywood and other institutions have been doing since the 70s.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I feel this is a dangerous thing. I feel like it's also sad that we're hitting another point where I thought at least one bastion of actual original people still survived. Because I mean, regardless of the garbage we have to sift through when it comes to comedians, we still got our, Dave Chappelle's and our Ricky Gervais's and a few other guys who are worth a shit. Like, why can't people just somebody could have went out with this, and this is enough of a decent set. Look, it's not great. It's not even remotely close to how good George Carlin is. But if somebody were to come out with this set on their own and do it as themselves, I mean, this is getting to the point where you have a whole hour of material. That's not easy to do.
Oh, no.
I think that probably someone already has tried that, and it didn't really work because
that sucks for them, because this is not a horrible material. I don't agree with all of it.
That's why I think
reaction. It's not easy to get fucking an hour's worth of material together.
I don't actually believe that this is AI written. I believe that this is exactly as you guys said earlier, that this is some struggling comedian that has written this and just had the AI read it out or narrate it for him in the voice of George Carlin. But I don't necessarily believe that the AI actually wrote this material. So this someone obviously could have done that thing, but who would give him a special? He'd have to go to a club. I don't know how many clubs would just give some random nobody who's not established an hour's worth of stage time. Yeah, I would imagine that's what we're dealing with here. I do think it's unfortunate though
That's
that
part
this
of the
is kind
grind,
of like,
Andre.
yeah, that this is kind of like where it begins. That it begins with bringing back dead performer for brand new original material. I can kind of like see how AI can be used, and there's dubious things about that too. But I'll give you one example, something that I think that AI could be used for in a way that's dubious, but certainly more interesting. And that would be like, for instance, we have the script for Romance of the Pink Panther. They started filming it when Peter Sellers died. You could use AI and have AI render out that movie with the cast based on the script that was already written and stuff. You could do the same thing for the King Conan movie. I mean, John Milius, he wrote a King Conan script.
Game of
Never got
Death,
to
baby.
direct it, but you could have 40-something Arnold Schwarzenegger reprise King Conan in John Milius' King Conan movie.
See, now that I don't feel
that
so
way.
bad about because
That
he's
I
still
could live
alive
with.
and he can make that decision,
Yeah.
right? Like that's the thing. I feel like George would be very against this idea.
Yeah, that's
And
what I
think
mean.
we all kind of in agreement
But again,
there.
here is this is original work that's being credited to a dead person who can't
Well, and I
do
brought up
anything
Game of
about
Death
it.
too, but the problem with that is Bruce didn't even really know what the story was going to be yet when he died. So you also have that problem. At least with the Pink Panther, they have the script to go by.
That's exactly what I mean. So you see, I mentioned specific examples where you had the script, the movie was a go, and then for one reason or another didn't happen.
But what you won't have now
are the kind of things where you still maybe shouldn't do it, but if you had to do it, those would be the venues I could certainly live with you doing it.
And I know you and I as Pink Panther fans would love to see that, but at the same time I'm sitting here going, but what you're going to lose and sacrifice now then is the spontaneousness that you get from Peter Sellers.
Yeah,
there's going to be
the life that Peter Sellers brings to a role that cannot be planned by a third-party writer or even by an AI. Same thing with you get with any performance. This is why I'm very much against any type of digital actor recreation, because actors, even though the mostly are elaborate puppets, the best ones can bring something to the role that they would never bring to any other role otherwise, and that is why we like to watch actors. Is you don't know what they could bring. Bad actors, they bring the same thing. That's why they have the term phoning it in. So that's what AI is going to do all the time. It's only going to be able to reference, Helen Mirren or Meryl Streep or Anthony Hopkins from what they have done, but it's never going to understand the lessons they've learned prior to that, the lessons they've learned during those, and the chances and risks they'll take in the future performances that otherwise they would have never done if just looking at those limited examples.
Perfect example is Peter Sellers probably wouldn't even have made 10, well, not that many, but like 6 Black Panther. Jesus, Peter Sellers wouldn't have made that many Pink Panther movies had he not had that thought in the first place, because his character wasn't even that big of a character. But when he came in and nobody else knew he was going to do this, he did his lines and then he spins the globe and falls over. That was it. That was just his little improv they added at the end there, and the whole crew fucking lost it. And from that moment on, they just kept telling Peter, throw something in here like you did the first time. And then eventually the movie became more about Peter Sellers than anybody else.
And the funny thing is that he was even the last-minute replacement. He wasn't even the originally cast actor.
He was just meant to be the antagonist. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he wasn't intended to be in the movie at all. It was a different actor cast as Clouseau.
No. But I mean, the character itself wasn't even meant to be that big of a role. It was just meant to be the antagonist for David Niven.
David Niven, yes.
Yeah, the moment he come in and did his first speech, and then he spins the globe and falls over. The globe bit was not in the script. That was just Peter being Peter. And like I said, that changed the character from that moment on.
I wouldn't be surprised if Peter Sellers planned that to try to take over the movie and
most likely
become the thing. Now, it would have been great to have seen the Pink Panther in Wakanda. See, now that
actually, it'd be better if we just get Peter Sellers in that movie. I would have been much happier.
Not tooting my own horn here, because I'm not obviously that well known. But anytime I write one of my bits, I have an idea of what I'm going to do. But once I turn on the camera, I cannot tell you the number of times that it goes in my play of it goes in very different direction from when I originally wrote it.
Oh, I
And
know. I empathize. I know exactly what you mean, because even though I don't do bits, I do editorials. And
Right.
sometimes when I am out in the street, then suddenly I'm in the zone.
Right.
And I have a whole video coming clear to me, and I'm like, I need to record this right the fuck now. And 2 hours later, when I have the chance to actually do it, gone. And that stroke of brilliance will never be hard.
Well, you're in the moment
Yeah.
often when you're doing comedy, and the way you do and the way you pitch something can change the tone of what it is that you're talking about. And you can pause on a word, and sometimes you have no intention of pausing on the word until you're now just you've got the rhythm, and you're riding the bike as you're reading what it is that you've written on the teleprompter, and then there's just a moment where you go, you know what, I'm going to stop on this word, but you don't plan on it. Yeah, you mean, so yeah, some things you plan, obviously, but there's you get into a zone, and that's how stand-ups that obviously that that do bits with the audience. For instance, Russell Peters, I'm not a big fan of his written bits, but he is an absolute genius when he goes off script and he's talking with the audience. It is the funniest stuff. He is so fast, like unbelievably fast, yet his written stuff, I don't care.
His written stuff I've heard from other people and geriatrics when I was in high school.
Right.
Howie Mandel's the same way. His written shit is not very good outside of Bobby. But if he's just interacting with the crowd, he's great. And I think that's where he got so popular, and that's how he knows how to work a crowd real well. But yeah, no, and Eddie Murphy was also one of those where, I watched on that Delirious DVD I got, it's all about, he talks to this other comedian about just doing his stand-up, which is a rare thing to get him to talk about. And he even talks about how long we talked earlier about how long it takes to just get an hour's worth of shit.
Oh my God.
It took him years to just get 15 minutes worth of usable stuff. He's like, my earliest bits were about, eating boogers and taking a shit because that's all I'd done by the age of 15,
And back in the vaudeville days when you didn't have TV and radio, well, you had radio, but when the stock and trade of the stand-up was the one routine that they had, it would literally take them 20 years to get 40 minutes worth of absolutely killer material.
Yeah.
Now television has, and YouTube especially, has made routines disposable, but people do like to see stuff over and over again. I mean, especially if it's a good routine. But I don't know how many people will watch the Ricky Gervais or the Dave Chappelle stand-up specials over and over again, unless they invite friends. I mean, I know people who invite friends over and go, "Oh, okay, watch this."
That used to be a thing.
Yeah,
that used to be a big deal.
Oh, we used to listen to the Monty Python albums. The guys I was hanging with in the 70s, we would listen to them over and over again and just howl with laughter.
Oh yeah, I remember growing up, my dad and his buddies would be getting around, getting drunk or stoned or whatever, and we'd have like Richard Pryor, Bill Cosby, whatever playing in the background, and they'd be laughing about it. And the comedy album was a big deal up until I think it kind of died with Chris Rock and who was that other white dude that I can't stand, Dane Cook. Those are the last two that I really remember having big comedy albums, aside from Jeff Foxworthy, who I think owns.
And there's another era,
on most of this shit.
Another era of comedy that has been completely lost was my parents would obviously they would have a party, shoo the kids to bed, and then they'd put on the Red Fox album.
Oh yes, Red Fox, yes.
Yeah, so it was complete filth. But that was
the
adult
first one
entertainment.
To go blue, yeah.
But it was an era where you would have stand up like Bob Newhart, but then the parents send the kids away so they could enjoy adult stand up like Red Fox. I mean, that was a really neat time.
Yeah, we don't have that anymore.
Mom's Mabley was funny too. She was filthy. Both of them grew up in the, did most of their routines in strip clubs, right? So,
well, yeah, that's where you had to do it. I mean, even in the Greater Toronto area before Yuck Yucks, you were at burlesque clubs.
Well, it's because it started in vaudeville.
Performance.
Yeah. Well, that's because it all started in vaudeville that way. Yeah. But no, I was trying to think of the last.
That there weren't any venues for it.
Well, that too. But I was just going to say, I'm trying to remember the last new comedy album I bought. It's been so long. Other than Ricky's, who we knew, sadly, who passed away this last year. That's the only new one I'd bought in probably years. I'm trying to remember.
That era has kind of passed.
It has, sadly. Yeah, you can't even say the titles of Richard Pryor's albums anymore. Most of them.
Robin
least
Williams
two or three
had
of
good
them.
albums.
Oh God,
Good
yeah,
albums.
yeah.
Actually, one of my favorite albums is the
Well,
Victor
Robin was
Borga.
one you had to watch. See, he was tough for the albums. His albums were okay.
Yeah,
But Robin was always better if you watched him because he was just a whirlwind himself.
and some of the stuff
Physically.
too. We loved Victor Borga, but we could watch him. We went and saw him live twice, and we saw the same material. And we're like, he's going ding, 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 ding on the piano, and then goes on. We're just howling with laughter. I don't know. It's
Well,
just
we even had a day and age when Gallagher was popular.
yes, I saw him live. I didn't sit in the front, but it was
Yeah,
funny
that's
going
good.
to the Gallagher show, and the people in front were all wearing rain
Plastic?
outfits.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, and they would give them to you at the front of they would give it to you in the lobby if you didn't bring your own.
Yeah, you could buy the actual like Gallagher branded
And
raincoats
Jackie
and stuff.
Mason was hilarious, and
Yeah, I saw Jackie Mason when I was working with Bruce Valanche. He did his Freshly Squeezed show in New York. It was brilliant.
Jackie Mason really worked hard on his show, and you'll never guess the funniest live show I had ever seen. You'll never guess. Not Red Buttons, Red Skelton.
Red
He was
Skelton, yeah.
late 80s. I had to go review it for the Star, and I went, oh fuck, I'm gonna go Red Skelton. Funny,
My
top to
dad
bottom.
loved Red Skelton.
And he had some really top-notch, very, very controversial jokes on aging, and that were just fantastic. I mean, I started my review for the Star saying I have never seen so many walkers deposited in the lobby of before a show in my life.
Don't forget your Walker ticket.
But the level of expertise, his precision, his joy was unbelievable. But this is a guy who'd done it for I mean, must have been 90 when I saw him. I don't know when he died.
So like 60 years ish, yeah.
Yeah, and that kind of ability, expertise, and just good writing. I was really shocked at how up to date Red Skelton was. That I did not expect that. So
well, we did not expect to spend a half hour or more on this topic. So
I can talk about comedy forever.
I know
Let's
I could
watch
too, and that's
something
what I
else.
was saying. Yeah, I know. Let's get into. There's a million other things I could go in directions I could go with this. Let's get into some of these super chats and member chats. So we got Dr. Kocho Dragon, who's been a member for 12 months. Congratulations! Since my birthday is on the 27th and gift member ends on the 20th, it is too early. Is it too early for a bat, Tom? Also, Elemental's triumphant didn't prevent Pixar's layoffs. Yeah, Elementals was not all that triumphant. And yeah, I
even heard my daughter and her friends say that Elemental sucked. Their target audience.
What is it going on? What? I pay my taxes. Oh, this thing. They gave me a paper to read. I hereby oh, not that one. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Fuck you, Joker. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. And many more. I think Bat Tom was out too late last night.
Seems like it. Anyway, happy birthday.
Yes, happy birthday, Coach.
Happy birthday to come.
And I also seen, I think FKH or FKCH 2000, however you say it, I think is also celebrating a birthday in the chat as well. So happy birthday to you as well. So yes, thank you, Cocho. And we do have to do another member stream here soon. But yeah. Hollywood Apocalypse sends in 14 South African rands and says, why are we giving air to DOA funding pitches no one wants? Well, what Hollywood Apocalypse is discussing here, or talking about here, is the J.J. Abrams bit, which we'll get into here in just a little bit. As you see in the title, though, it's Paramount Desperation at the end of the day. In this case, it's more J.J. Desperation, but we'll get to that. Dr. Longdongler sends us in a super sticker for £1.99, wanting you to pound that thumbs up. Hopefully it's on the screen here and not up anything you shouldn't. Coffee Lover's been a member for 12 months as well, so happy anniversary. Thank you for that. Callum Lyle sends in an Australian 5 and says it's strange how since Trans He-Man Part 2 trailer dropped, the animators who worked on it are asking for sympathy on Twitter. What does that tell you? I watched that trailer. Did you watch it, Andre?
To be honest, I haven't bothered. I know I probably should have, but I couldn't be asked to. I'm already dreading having to watch it when it comes.
I have a strange prediction. I think that you and I are not going to hate this season.
I hope so.
I think Kevin got the message, and his name is splattered all the fuck over this thing. And the weird thing is the person who's been running interference the most for it on Twitter has been Shatner himself. Now, if the trailer is to be believed, it is supposed to be about He-Man taking the throne, but he has to decide, is it going to be Adam or He-Man? That's the basic plot.
Mm-hmm.
And Skeletor's back. That's it. That's all we got. Kind of got out of that. Then there's a little bits of Tila, and every time she's in there, you're just like, okay, so when is she going to hijack the story?
Well, wasn't she recast? Maybe she won't.
Yes, Sarah Michelle Gellar.
The original,
yeah, she only gets like
she
only gets like 2 or 3 lines.
Okay, well that's good.
The voice actor of He-Man, his wife is playing Tila now.
Yeah, so it's the chick who played Supergirl on the CBS CW
Melissa
show.
Benoist.
That's how I can never think of how to say it. It's Benoist, Melissa Moist, Benoist, that thing. Yeah, so she's doing the voice now. You can't. She's only got like 1 or 2 lines in the trailer though. So check it out, Andre. We'll see what we think about it when it drops here in a week and a half.
25th. So or in 2 weeks. 2 weeks is when it drops, approximately.
So it means I got to get Netflix back again. Oh, goody. But thank you for that, Callum, and we will tell you what we feel.
But what have the animators said on Twitter? Because
I don't know. I just know that
no idea.
I know Shatner's been running defense for it. I'm assuming
then I'm guessing he's in it. Remind me, what part did he play in it again?
I forget who he's playing.
He might be the voice of Hordak.
I can't remember if that's who he's playing. Let me look here.
Because he wasn't in the first season, but he was cast for this one coming up.
Yeah, I seem to recall that he's in this one in some capacity. That would be hilarious if he was Hordak.
It just says unknown. I think he might be. I'm not 100% sure.
Well,
then again, I think
someone has been cast as Hordak.
It don't say.
Right. So it could be Hordak.
It's a fair assumption to make. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have to watch the trailer again because he's in the Hordak's in the trailer. And I think Shatner's voice
in the trailer.
Yeah, he's got a couple lines, and I think Shatner's voice is in the trailer, but it's not as Hordak, so it might not be Hordak. But I see where you're going with that, because obviously you've got Luke Skywalker and Captain Kirk in the show now.
Yeah. Too bad that Luke Skywalker sucks so badly as Skeletor.
Yeah, I was not a big fan of that.
Yeah, that was bad.
Let me do Joker all over again and sound old.
Yeah. Yeah, that was not great. Looked good on paper, but in practice, that did not work.
Yeah. And the Snake Men are supposed to be coming too, I think, so that he might play one of the Snake Men.
Oh, that would be cool.
I don't know.
Depending on what they do with. Anyway, yeah, because here's like the thing. Kevin Smith, he was only the showrunner in name only in the first season. But maybe he was the real showrunner and learned some lessons for the second. I don't think so, though. Well, that's not what he said in public. In public, he basically doubled down and rejected all criticism.
Yeah,
but
he did.
If that was the Hollywood answer or reflective of his real answer, that I do not know. But either way, we will, of course, be seeing season 2 and letting you all know what we think about it. And we're some hardcore He-Man fans here. So, like last time, expect no mercy if it doesn't deliver.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to see how it goes. Jesus Davila gifted 1 membership. Thank you for that, Jesus Davila. We appreciate that. And Callum Lyle sends in another $5 Australian super chat about He-Man. Says, what I mean by trans He-Man, it's implied in the trailer that Adam and Tila might merge into one, becoming some kind of free. Yeah, this is where I'm like, I don't know
Oh
about
my
her
God.
storyline being in it. It's like I have to watch the trailer again. Because I watched it kind of in passing yesterday on my phone because I was out of the house, so I couldn't really hear it all that well.
Yeah, so basically, it wasn't that big a priority to watch it for you either. That you actually bothered to watch when you same with me.
No, but when I'm watching it here, I'm like, okay, I like that look. That looks cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've always wondered.
Contrast.
Oh, Quildor. You know, like that's kind of like. And then the last shot, it looks like He-Man goes from his, the metal, full metal plate one where you know
the
you have
snake,
the damage
the snake outfit.
Yeah, and he goes from that, and then the last
series.
shot looks like he's got the Dolph Lundgren outfit on.
That's interesting because that's an outlook that's not owned by them. That one is owned
that's the Stout.
Yeah, by Stout.
I couldn't tell. It was really quick, and like I said, I was in waiting room at the office of the dentist. But like, yeah, and I sent it to you or whatever it was when I got back. But I just
I know, but I was like, check it out later. Can't be asked, and then I forgot about it because that's how much it's. That's how impressed or how much I'm anticipating this series after the disaster that was the first season.
And that one was so bad. I have a feeling that you and I might be going like, you know what, this season wasn't so bad, but we could be completely wrong too.
Yeah.
But I'm not expecting much out of it. So yeah.
No.
And then we got Gus 1388. Well, there's a name we haven't seen in a while. How you doing, Gus?
Hey.
Sends in $5. Says Maya to Fisk. I couldn't help but notice your pain. It runs deep. Share it with me. Yeah, I didn't watch it.
Neither did I. Not yet. But from what I understood, it was there was some amazing diversity in it.
Magic native girl powers.
Yeah, I was selling point.
We call those magic indigenous powers.
Magic indigenous shit. Where were you this morning, rewriter?
What do you mean this morning? I was here
when I posted that.
Oh, when you posted that on Twitter?
Yes, that's better.
Well, yeah, she's a MIP.
God damn it.
I still say that it's not fair sticking these young things, women in particular, into roles where the only way they can show strength is by looking grim. And it's just not interesting. It's
everybody said that about her, Paul. I didn't watch it, but I was listening to a couple of guys talk about it last night.
But everyone's doing it. About it. Look at Ahsoka. It's just like there are women who could do grim. Betty Davis,
bitch face, basically.
Yeah, and I understand it. They're trying to look strong and stoic, but they are not Lee Van Cleef stoic. There's a there's a twinkle in the eyes of that kind of actor that can pull off the grim stoic. Look at Steve McQueen. Man, he was grim all the time, but he was action grim.
When he smiled, that Irish charm came through.
Yeah, it's true. And the other thing they do is I haven't seen this particular edition of Echo, but they just don't want the women to smile at all. This is constant grim all the time.
Yeah, but that's deeply problematic. Don't you remember we learned that in Captain Marvel? Don't you tell me to smile.
You're right.
Deeply problematic. So women cannot smile.
But now the Marvels, that was the whole point, was to try and get as many scenes with those girls having girl fun time together, smiling.
But you got to be smiling in the middle of the bad parts. That's the thing. Like I said, Lee Van Cleef, when he's there's the one movie where he's the bad guy, and then the other movie where he's the good guy.
Once Upon a Time in the West.
The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and then it was the one where he's bad. I'm thinking
Fistful of Dollars, isn't it?
Fistful of Dollars.
Fistful of Dollars.
It's funny. It's funny they flipped him around, but again, he's at his most badass, and he's just enjoying himself. And the women are just not doing that. I don't know whether it's direction. I hate to say it's lack of talent, although
one does not have to rule out the other. It could be direction plus lack of talent. I mean, for instance, in the case of Echo, are we to believe that the actress here, Aloka Fox or what her name is, that she is there because she is the absolute best actress for the role, and they went through thousands upon thousands and did hundreds of auditions to find just the right one, or she checked all the boxes they were looking for, plus a bonus box, and she had a modicum of acting ability. Which of those two is more likely?
I take the fifth.
Yeah.
No, that's pretty much the best way you can answer that. So I don't even know if anybody here watched the actual show.
No, I
I'm
haven't watched
refusing.
it yet. I don't know
I'm
if I'm
not going
going to.
I don't think anybody plans on it.
I watched the first 20 minutes and then I
What'd you
got sick
think?
of reading. So,
Oh, is it all like subtitles because she's talking?
well, you'd have to, look at more, excuse me, facial reactions and body language. And yeah, there is some.
Because all the sign language, I was going to say.
Yeah. And I feel like it sounds terrible for me to say that, but I just wasn't interested in reading the screen. I wanted to watch it, but not pay attention enough to what I felt like I had.
No, but that actually is the point, because from what I understand, this is so heavily subtitled that it might as well have been a foreign production.
Probably.
A lot of the Disney Plus audience are going to be put off by that.
Oh, we gotta read stuff.
Well, I wanted to like clean up my email while I was watching the show, and I couldn't. So.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And if you did that, you had to look away from the screen, and then you'd miss some of the subtitling.
Yeah, I mean, I love to read. One of my favorite movies, Troll. I had to read all of that because
I saw Troll
in Norwegian, and
yeah,
that was amazing. That was, it captivated me. So
yeah, cool.
Nah, this just sounds strange. But anyway, Mr. Tickle Trunk sends in a Canadian $2 and says, "Thankfully, the voice isn't George Carlin-y enough." Yeah. Bucky Cat sends in $5, says, "California Celebrities Rights Act. How does this potentially play into this mess?" Now, is this the one? Is this the AI deal that you were talking about, Script, or is this something else?
I don't remember that title, but I'll have to do a quick check on it. California Celebrity.
Yeah, it was right in
No,
front
this
of
is
you
a
there.
1985 statute which allows celebrities'
Yeah.
personality rights to survive his or her death. The act nullified an earlier holding from '79. So yeah, this is the existing one. So yeah, this would go into a state arbitration, I think.
Yeah, so that's why I wonder if because I mean that's where I said Kelly put out her statement, but that's where before the show we were discussing that is like, do they have any legal grounds here? And I think they do, but I wonder the move, right? Because they are profiting off this. You cannot deny that. This is on YouTube. They've gotten well over 250,000 views already. I said by this weekend, I guarantee it'll hit a million. It's gotten too much, heat behind it now that it won't. So maybe that's what they're waiting for, is to see where it settles or where it goes. But I think them bringing attention to it made it worse. Just like us talking about it earlier.
Oh, that's the strikes and the fact through.
Yeah, we totally fully take.
So basically, it's not even doing neurotic numbers, is what we're saying here.
No, but it will be by this weekend. That's what I'm saying. It's gaining momentum. It's gotten over 150,000 views since I watched it the last night or whatever it was.
Yeah. So, then it's gaining. That's the thing.
Or the night before it was. Yeah. And even then, it was still pretty low. And I think I'd seen the first I heard about it was when Script and who else posted something about it. It wasn't just you, Script. It was somebody else.
I read it in the trades, and it's some of the trades I go through.
Was it? Oh, it was Robert. Robert, yes. Because that's where I watched it from, was his post. And I'm like, wait, what the hell is this? And then I went to the actual site. And then I saw your tweet about it too. And I'm like, yeah, this is just a stinky little thing. I don't like it. But yeah. Anyway, Hyperguyver 2 sends in another $5 on the Carlin bit. He says, is just as disgusting as when Disney resurrected Peter Cushing for Rogue One. This crosses a moral line that should never be crossed. The difference there, Hyperguyver, is they had Peter Cushing's estate's permission, for better or worse.
They just did a shitty job
impersonating him. That's the other part too. It was an actor impersonating him, and they just did a digital mask over top of him to match Peter Cushing's physical appearance.
Yet they still made it shitty.
Yeah, it was still terrible.
The Corridor crew could have done a better job.
Yeah, it's
We're going to see more and more of it.
Yeah.
Get ready, guys.
I think so. I think so. And I'm also afraid that we're not going to be seeing it in the way that where it could be used for its best, but just for shock value and click. I fear we're going to see it used for its to its worst ability, which this would be an example of. Which is basically wannabe original creations from dead talent.
I'm waiting for the AI version of me.
Basically, when they use it to recreate Robin Williams' voice for something or other, that's when I think people will lose their shit. It's got to happen to somebody who's extremely beloved. Like, I get it. George Carlin is beloved, but he's kind of a niche beloved compared to somebody like Robin Williams. You know, like if they were to do that, because I remember a lot of people were kind of, because before they casted Will Smith in the Aladdin live action, I remember there was talks going around that there was enough outtakes from the original recording session that they could construct a whole performance out of the genie for Robin Williams and just have it be CGI 3D Robin Williams genie in the movie. And that was a thought for a while.
They told us that about Carrie Fisher in episode 9. I don't believe
the problem with that was there was a bunch of stupidity involved in that from what I heard. I heard JJ would not use any of the footage that was shot for The Last Jedi.
Yeah, because he didn't want to give any of those credits or extra money to Ryan Johnson, no doubt.
So he was only using whatever they had for outtakes from The Force Awakens, which makes absolutely no fucking sense. And that's why every line was so stupid. And it's like, but Leia, I don't know if I can master the Force. You will, honey. We just need to get chicken nuggets first. You know, that's why everything was like that in the movie. Because it was literally just crap they picked up off the fucking digital cutting room floor. Sandrock sends in $5 and says, off topic, the SAG deal with the AI, what does that mean for up-and-coming voice actors? Now, Script, you've been following this the closest, I guess. And I was kind of trying to figure this whole fucking thing out, reading through it. And I think this is what he's referring to, is the thing where there was a deal signed where they can recreate voices with AI now. And the way they presented it was like, oh, you guys signed off on this, basically.
So what it essentially is, at least this is what the translation as best we can approximate is that a company by the name of Replica is going to be essentially a representative of a bunch of voice actors who decide to have their voices digitally copied. The actors retain the license of it, and Replica kind of is the middleman to sell and distribute that license to video game companies where the actors get pay. And so long as you have a contract with Replica, they are free to do that. And if you terminate your contract, you retain the original, your voice. Like, you haven't sold it off. You are just using them kind of as a proxy to manage and distribute your voice to other projects and get a commission on it and get royalties on it, essentially, or contract out. So that is what they're trying to do. I think the wording of it is absolutely poor. I think it's not the best idea at the moment, because while it is trying to secure ownership of voice rights for the actor, you are looking at a company that can easily be hacked or pilfered any exploited in any way that they could steal your voice, use it, and then you have to start hunting them down legally and then prove theft and prove a whole bunch of damages and whatnot, all based on the fact that you volunteered to have your voice digitally recorded to be used for AI purposes. And then there's also the conflict of, okay, well, what if you decide to pull out of Replica and you have your digital AI voice? What happens to the license agreements that Replica had when it came to all their other video games? That's where you get into the Amazon and the Apple and the renting, but it's how it says you're buying, digital media as opposed to physical. So it's a whole mess of problems that I can foresee in the future. And I had nothing less than what I would normally expect from a lawyer like Duncan Crabtree Ireland, who every action he does is really just to get more money out of actors and not.
No more Tom knows. Sorry.
No, it's okay. So this is purely a volunteered aspect too. So no actor is required to do it. It's really just opened up an avenue where if an actor feels like they're not going to they want to retain rights. So maybe an actor learns that they might lose their voice in a few months. So they'll go into a place like this, create a digital recording, and then use that to sell their voice to a number of other companies and video game companies so that they can still maintain work in the event that they're going to lose their voice.
Right. So yeah, it sounded really complicated to me too. I was just like, what the?
Or die soon.
Yeah, or die.
They've contracted some illness, and
or you have like the situation where I just forgot his damn name. This is CNN. Darth Vader's voice.
James Earl Jones.
James Earl Jones basically sold his voice to Disney.
So it is technically he sold his Darth Vader voice to Disney.
Yeah. So they'll be able to use that forever. Mm-hmm. And that's another thing that's going on now. And I think this is a problem because, like, I think actors should be really worried about this. Not the ones that are being used, but the ones who are not going to be used now in the future. Because that, I think, is a problem here because it's bad enough we got to deal with all these reboots and remakes. The upshot is at least maybe once in a while we'll find some decent talent. And now that is going to go out the window if you just keep using stand-ins and using AI voices and AI faces and all this other shit. You're not going to ever be seen as an actor.
But this is the future almost. Look, again, this goes back to what's happened with streaming. 10% of streaming revenue is coming from brand new acts, and then 60 to 70% are people going back to the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Right, I'm listening to funk right now, Earth, Wind, and Fire, because I'm not getting any of that action these days. Screw modern R&B, it sucks.
No, I agree with you, but it's different. Hey, Andrew, you got our link, brother. Come on in. I sent it to you. I didn't know if you're still awake. I just think it's sad because that means we're not going to get as much new talent. And there's talent.
The audience care. This is always my argument.
They should. They're ruining.
They're
ruining movies for themselves. That's what's pissing me off about a lot of this is we're sitting here griping about this. Well, we know what the problem is, and we can't do anything to fix it. That's what makes me the most upset because we're not in the room now. At least you and Script are working on a few things, but you guys can only do so much in the writer's side of things, right? Like. Once you guys hand off that project in certain cases, unless you're in full control of that said project,
that's right.
It's not up to you after that point. They're going to do whatever they want with it. And at this point, Hollywood does not want to try anything new. They just want to do IPs and stuff that they know. That's it. In fact,
the percentage of IPs being remade or reconstituted from one form to another hasn't changed. It's just the frequency is now they're making more of it, and it just feels like it's oversaturated. When we had, say, 52 movies a year and 30 of them were existing IPs and 22 were original stuff, you didn't really know so much. But now that we've got, a few hundred a year and, 200 of those are existing IPs and 100 is original, well, we're never going to learn of the original stuff because the 200 is going to be occupying all the attention and oxygen in the room.
And here's a prime example of that. And I just posted this picture, no context whatsoever. This is Sony presenting their big movies for next year. Tom Rothman hates this shit. And they're doing it.
Yeah, they see the numbers. It's cheaper on advertisement. They don't have to worry about the other type of distribution for advertisement budgets because it's already well-established household name brands. And they're still going to get railroaded by the advertisers when it comes to expenses at the end of the day, too.
Yeah, we need to move on from this stuff here, but let's get through the rest of these super chats here. Kalekioki sends in, or at least a few of them, sends in $10. Holy crap, Script Doctor. Saw your 2 videos on Zack Snyder. How on earth did Warner Brothers think he can run a cinematic universe? The man can't even formulate a single sentence. Was he rising a director? I think he means was he a rising director at the time?
He was not. No. He was the only director that did not find it offensive to remake Dawn of the Dead. Many other directors turned it down because they didn't want to remake it because they loved George A. Romero. But Zach, who had been working in music videos for over a decade, really wanted to work in feature films. And so he had no problem trying to remake George A. Romero's classic. Luckily, he had James Gunn. Well. Yeah, well, luckily, he had James Gunn to write it, who wrote it in a sense to not technically compete with that original one. And it did so well that Warner Brothers was like, okay, so this is a guy who he executed a solid movie that worked well for us. It was a long shot, and so we'll give him another long shot. And what he did next was 300. So he adapted Frank Miller stuff, and the adaptations he made were basically shot for shot off the comics, which is very lazy. It's you don't even need a storyboard artist. You just literally are using the comic book artist as the storyboard artist, and didn't have much new interpretation to any of the content he did, but it was a new style at the time. It was aping off of what Robert Rodriguez did with Sin City, which was also a lot more of a success than expected. And he ran with it, and now he has made a career out of it. And we and everyone else are made to suffer because of that decision.
I would be very happy to suffer in the same way. Can I just
financially wise, as Zack Snyder, I would love to get his paychecks to do as little work as possible.
So we'll get ourselves to the point, script. We'll have the Patty Chayefsky deal where they cannot change a word on the script. That's the goal. Are there any writers out there like that? Have that kind of power?
At this point, not that I can think of offhand. I don't think so. Maybe Adam Garland, but
I remember when Ken Russell shot Altered States and was so furious that Chayefsky said, nope, can't change a word, that he purposely fucked the sound of the movie up so no one could understand what anybody said. So isn't that a good director? What a nice thing to do.
What a nice thing to say. Yeah.
I'm sure I could think of something if I had a few minutes. But anyway, Day Trip Era sends in ARS. This is I know
South African Rands.
No, that's not.
That's AR. Sorry.
Argentinian souls.
Yeah.
Or is it Real? How do you say it?
I think it's Argentinian Real. Yeah.
Real. Okay. 100 Argentinian Real. That is. We don't like things because they are great, but because they remind us of things that used to be great. Bono said about culture going into nostalgia bait in 97. We've kind of been in this loop of nostalgia ever. And actually the 80s had a bit of the 50s nostalgia in it. Don't
they did.
Get mistaken there.
Back to the Future.
Well, not just that, but a lot of things. The music, the culture. There was the
Sword and Sorcery revival that
there was a 50s
did not take off.
kind of like resurgence in the 80s. La Bamba was huge then too. That also was kind of a wave, riding on the wave of that. But we have with us a very strange looking Andrew.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Chairman
from North Korea.
Hello, Chairman
Andrew. Yeah.
AI Andrew. That's brilliant.
Yeah, did you use AI to make that?
Yeah.
Yes, that's all I approve of because it's much better than the other localizers.
Well, we're in the midst of an AI discussion here at the moment. We're trying to wrap up, but you're welcome, and we're glad to have you this morning. Awesome
I am pro our AI overlords. They cannot screw it up any worse than humans already have.
That's sad, but
that
you're not
just
wrong.
means it's less fun.
Yeah. Wesley 1924 on the Rumble side of things sent in $5 and says AI artists are the new vegans. They can't stop talking about how much better their lifestyle is, and now they can't even tell the difference from the real thing. Well,
as the DEI vegan representation on the panel, I just want to say that I don't think I'm better than you or anyone else. I know I am.
Yeah, but
you're one of the few vegans I know who don't shove shit in everybody's face.
But Tom brings it up more than I ever do.
How do we know that this is not an AI that we're talking to right now?
This is true. Good point. Could very well be. But on that note, Captain Cisco is here. The Captain Cisco, and sends in $2 and says, Top Gun 3 Maverick fighting and flying UAPS. Thumbs up. Well, I don't know. I think he might be going to space. And on that note, Tom Cruise has set up a new home at Warner Brothers just the other day, and all of a sudden we get a Top Gun 3 announcement. What the fuck is going on?
No, he's returned to his home. He left Warner Brothers for Paramount.
Did he?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When was this? Because he's like most of his big movies were always at Paramount, except for like maybe Risky Business but he wasn't.
Oh no, I mean he did the Tomorrow.
He did the Edge of Tomorrow. Oblivion.
Yeah, but he didn't set up his shop there like he is now. So first of all, let's break this down here. So what's going on is Tom Cruise He's still making movies anywhere he wants. This is not an exclusive deal, but he has now moved his production offices over to Warner Brothers from Paramount, where they were before. And now today we get the announcement that Top Gun 3 has been greenlit.
For Paramount, though.
For Paramount, yes.
Yeah.
But I'm at the point where I'm starting to wonder if Paramount's even going to exist in a year. Because there's all kinds of shenanigans going on behind the scenes right now. We have a cash offer from Skydance for Paramount. But Skydance is only worth half of what Paramount Global is worth. But I'm also hearing they might try to shave off CBS for Warner Brothers, which would make sense because then Skydance could come up with that kind of capital. So here we go. Weird case scenario, though. And then on top of it all, Top Gun 3 is now in the works. And we get some Star Trek news, which we're going to get into in just a little bit, too, in the last couple days here. So what the fuck is going on? I don't know. Paramount is like on less than life support at this point. Like they are literally like, what was that? The defibrillation or whatever. I'm not
Can Tom Cruise just put it on his credit card? Like, can he just buy Paramount?
Well, that's what we thought Skydance thing was all about. But
if he has his buddy David Miscavige send some more Scientology money to that end, yeah, he probably could.
Oh, if they get the Scientology money, I mean, it's done. It's a done deal.
Yeah.
Anyway, you said something 2-6 about my analogy, I think, because you're the actual medical person here.
Defibrillator, is that what you were?
I don't know. I was saying it's like basically dying in front of us right now.
Okay.
Is that where you use the defibrillator to try and shock it back
regulate
to life?
The heart?
Or what is that? What that is? Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
that's actually what it does. Yeah, it doesn't restart the heart; it stops it. Then you kind of like restarts on its own with the right rhythm.
And that's where we're at right now with Paramount. So I was right. That's what I was meaning. So okay, because it's like just sitting there, and this company as a whole is only worth $9.5 billion. Yeah. That's with CBS.
As basically the value of the two company has been cut down
quite dramatically
in the last 5 years. So yeah,
something is swirling in my head, and this is just a speculation, but the fact that Tom Cruise is moving his office over to the Burbank offices at Warner Brothers, it would suggest to me that Warner Brothers might be eyeing to get more Paramount than what is let on, and Tom Cruise is just kind of establishing a foundation over there physically before a sale or a merger actually goes through.
Said that,
which is very weird because I'm still not. I mean, again, unless Warner Brothers wants to spend a lot of money on incentives to certain courts, I really am finding it difficult that they could get a big chunk of Paramount without some sort of pushback from.
I don't know. I've been hearing some rumblings because here's the thing. She wants out. Sherry Redstone, she's done. She does not care who gets it. She just wants the fuck out. Skydance has put up a cash offer. They have some backing from Redbird as well. Mm-hmm. Okay. The other side of this, though, CBS is the main bit that Zaslav wants his hands on. Okay. Now, rewind a few months. Remember when Tom Cruise said The Flash was one of the greatest movies he ever saw?
Yes.
I think at that time, what was going on is ever since Tom and Paramount had a bit of a falling out over Mission Impossible, Zaslav's been whining and dining his ass because they lost all their talent over at Warner Brothers through the Kalar situation and all
Emmerich
that
stuff. Yeah.
And Emmerich's bullshit. So like Nolan jumped ship and all that kind of crap. So all they've got left is Clint Eastwood, and he's got what, maybe 5 good years left in him if you're lucky.
One car. I measure it by cars.
He's got one car. Okay.
One car life. Yeah.
One car life left in him. So at this point, he's got to start building his stable back up. He's already got James Gunn in there. Tom Cruise is arguably still the biggest star in the world. Right. Now, on that note, I think that's what happened here. I think Zaslav's been whining and dining him ever since. They know that the chances are whatever happens in the end, most of Paramount and CBS is probably going to wind up over at Warner Brothers because Skydance does not have the capital to do this. They're only worth half of what Paramount Global is. So that's where everybody is saying that where are they going to come up with this money? Now there's rumors about Saudi money involved here. You guys have joked about some Scientology money. Well, Scientology money is going to go where Tom's going to go. Keep that in mind. Now, you're right, Script. This is going to take some regulation bullshit through you wouldn't believe, but Zaslav does have some of the bright, powerful friends right now compared to other people. So that probably will help his case. The other side of this, Paramount ain't jack shit. All they're going to have to do is shed a few things and they'll be good to go. The only thing I'm worried about is their monopoly on like the kids' channels and a few other things with the cable. And with that, it doesn't matter. He can just kill one or the other, right? If you made me go, well, which one is more important, Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network? Well, clearly Cartoon Network. It was nice knowing you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's where this thing's going to come down to. That's just my observation of this. I'm curious what y'all think, though. Going off of some of the things I know from the background, anyway.
Yeah, I really don't have much to add.
No, me neither.
What Script has said already. We can speculate something is going on, but I'd be really curious to what Andrew thinks about this. Just seeing this from the outside with all the corners, like you with your legal background. What do you think might be the motivation here?
Well, can you walk me through this though? And maybe it's just because I'm tired because it is 1:30 a.m. here. So Tom, what are the antitrust concerns? So where would they have a monopoly in kids programming?
No, I was just saying, I was trying to figure it out because that's what everybody has pushed back on this with is, they're going to have antitrust. They're going to have antitrust, monopoly. I'm like, where? Because
they've been very forgiving with antitrust. I mean, it's
there's nothing. They don't have CW anymore, so there's no networks that Warner Brothers have. They could, so that means they should have no problems getting CBS. The cable networks. The only problem there is CBS and Paramount have the majority of cable networks right now. I can't remember the exact number, but Warner Brothers has somewhere in like the 40% vicinity of the cable networks.
Mm-hmm.
Paramount has like another 30-some%, leaving the last whatever's left over for the other companies. So that could be an issue where
maybe they have to spin that off, or
some of their cable companies. And that's what I was saying. Like, okay, I'm looking at this. I got Nickelodeon and I got Cartoon Network. Well, fucking, I'm going to sacrifice Cartoon Network.
Right. So they spin off. You're right. Which is what always happens. So they spin off one or leave it out of the deal or whatever else. Right. Because you can always have that happen where you acquire. You don't have to acquire. Everyone thinks that whenever there's a merger and acquisition, it's got to be the whole thing. Absolutely not. You can just acquire a portion or a piece. So, you can leave a piece behind. You can spin that off. You can, create another company that assumes that and operates independently. There's a lot of creative ways to deal with that. That's why the M&A attorneys get paid the big bucks to figure out those solutions and to come to those backroom deals with the feds. So I certainly think there's a will. If there's a will, there's a way. And certainly if there's money, there's a way.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I mean, that's the thing is I'm stretching to try and figure out what exactly they're going to have to deal with that everybody else, that Fox and a few others didn't get away with a hell of a lot more with.
Yeah, I mean, look at Fox, right? I mean, obviously, Fox with the Fox acquisition, certain assets were left behind, certain assets were acquired. So, I mean, that's a similar model if folks want to think about what might potentially happen with a merger or a buyout.
Yeah. So yeah, Paul, what about from the executive lounge?
My only thought is that if Cruise is an example, if they are picking off entities like Tom with his own production company, you could pick off all the best assets of something like Paramount without having to get into all that monopoly issues. You just leave it a bare, empty husk. You've made separate deals with these entities, and you are no longer in antitrust territory. That's my first thought, is that we're gonna hear more of this.
Well, what this mainly boils down to is Sherry Redstone's shares, basically, because she has 76% of the company, or basically.
Yeah, but she can't stop Tom Cruise from setting up shop someplace else.
No, and she hasn't. And I think Script, I think you pointed this out somewhere else before the other day when we talked about this on Mead, and that is that the production company he moved over there isn't even the one that covers some of his bigger stuff, right? This is just some of his. Yeah,
it's his basically his main one, the one that's contracts him out to any other studio he wants, so that he can pay himself regularly and get lower taxes.
And I think this is included in this will probably be A Day After Tomorrow or whatever the fuck that thing was called, sequel, and something else over at Warner Brothers that he wants to do. But again, I said this the other day. I said I don't think this is going to have any effect on Mission Impossible or Top Gun 3, which I think Mission Impossible's got one movie left anyway. Which is another reason why I wonder, and this can kind of get us to the Top Gun 3 topic, as to why he's even considering doing a Top Gun 3, because I thought the president of Paramount kind of stated that it probably wasn't the best idea to jump into another one. I'm kind of surprised Tom Cruise would think another Top Gun would be a good idea.
Maybe Tom Cruise disagrees with the president of Paramount.
Do you think he's pushing this forward just because he can?
Yes, I think so. Because otherwise, this would be this is at Paramount.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So, but I think that Tom Cruise. I mean, how many stars are left in Paramount's stable? And also, wouldn't they also have an interest in increasing their own share price if they have like a sequel to $1 billion grossing smash hit with
Bingo
still starring Tom Cruise? Wouldn't that be like a good way to increase the price of the company for whoever is going to buy them, whether that be Skydance or Warner? And what I'm thinking, since Saslaw now has a deal with Cruise already, I'm thinking that Skydance is looking more likely to buy Paramount. But that's me.
That makes a lot of sense.
That I believe is the magic answer right there. Go ahead, Andrew.
No, I was saying if you've got $1 billion that you can mark down, or whatever else in the profit column that you can mark down in future profit for Top Gun 3, that's just going to print money. I mean, I think it's at this point, I think it would be guaranteed to have a strong attendance, and certainly with the slate of dog shit that we have, it would probably be the best thing out there. In its block. I think that there's no reason why they wouldn't want that on their balance sheet.
I think this was for a bump in stock, because I don't think Sherry's all that keen on selling to Skydance.
Skydance produces or distributes all of Tom Cruise's movies.
Yeah, but see, I think the rumor going around is they don't have the money, and she don't give a shit who has the money as long as they have the money. That's what she wants. She just wants out. So I think we're getting some signals. I could be wrong. I could be very fucking wrong here.
I think Tom Cruise should set up a school for future stars and teach people how to become superstars. That's what I think he should do. Forget about
he already has a school. It's called Scientology. You have to send a bunch.
Well, yeah. Then you know what? As much as I hate Scientology, if we need new stars of his caliber, then go for it. Become a Scientologist. I don't care right now.
Well, their stock is up today a little bit.
Scientology stock?
No.
Where do I buy the Scientology stock?
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, so if
I don't know that I would buy that right now, but
if that was their goal, it worked.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you brought that up, Andre, because that was kind of what I was hinting at here. I think this whole thing with the Star Trek announcement and everything else in the last couple of days has been nothing but to bump up Paramount stock for whoever does have to buy it.
Yeah.
So Sherry can make a couple extra bucks on each
in development. Yeah, that does make complete sense. Why a company that is rumors that you have two wolves fighting over,
well,
suddenly announce a bunch of, especially Star Trek. I mean, we have now had an annual tradition of having a new Star Trek movie announced yearly, going back to 2016. So we're fast approaching a decade now.
Well, you're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but that is kind of part of the same story here, actually. So we might as well just get into that. But no, I think 100%, because some people in our sphere think, is this just another financing ploy? Could be, could very well be. But no, I think what this is, and you know what I'm talking about, Andre, I think this is like when Bob Iger bought Lucasfilm. They're trying to bump up the worth of the company right now by announcing all these projects that are never going to fucking actually probably happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's classic Hollywood accounting.
Because of course, this is right on the cusp of not one, but two Star Trek films, kids. So they changed the song a little bit here, Andre, just so we couldn't reuse our video from before and insert new director here. You know what I mean? Because really,
they listened to us. I'm sure they did that just to fuck with us.
That's what I'm saying, fuckers. And a Nightwish fan 1991 sends in $10. Thank you so much, and says, "Guess it's that time for the annual Star Trek 4 news." That's right, it is. it's January or April. That's usually about the same time every year. We get the new Star Trek 4 news and find out who the new director and writers are.
I mean, the thing is, Paramount has still got like a vast set of properties. I mean, they're a lot like Warner's. I don't know if everyone realizes
all of those properties. What's more important? A bunch of incompetents that don't know how to use them. That's
that's about right.
Then it doesn't help what kind of properties they have when they bungle them completely with the they have.
And network TV is dying, but I mean they've got so many, Nickelodeon. I mean, we all know about that, and let's not forget about Bet TV. Like we all watch that.
Yes, I do every night.
I believe it's BET TV. Paul.
Oh, thank you. See, I'm
there's no betting involved. I was very disappointed.
Sorry.
I'm like, when do I get to bet? And I'm just sitting here watching. And I'm like, when is this lady going to quit singing?
Bet.
Now I get to bet finally. $20.
Now they're just huge. It's a huge company.
Okay, so the logistics of this now are we're not only getting a Star Trek 4, which JJ is supposedly promising to be the last in the Star Trek films. Because that's the other bit of this news is he's coming back according to
he's been given the reins of another Star Trek. Really?
He's got nothing else to do.
No, but why would they let him do anything?
Because it's Alex Kurtzman who decides, and Alex Kurtzman is going to give his old friend and mentor some more money. When you say they, remember you're referring to Alex Kurtzman.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, who Alex Kurtzman owes, although I heard they had a falling out, but that could have been just rumor.
I think that was just a rumor. And the other one is supposed to be a prequel, so basically another Enterprise era movie.
Yeah, I heard that.
Okay, is this not the same project, Tom? Because the J.J. Abrams thing is like this is no longer Star Trek 4. This is now, I think, he's given up on that. So I think there's
it's still Star Trek 4. You must not have read the article. There's 3 actually, depending on who you listen to.
Even better.
Because the other thing that's going on now is there's some sort of confusion. Because Patrick Stewart said that there was some Picard movie project, and then somebody told me that was him. He misunderstood Legacy, but some people are still insisting, oh no, there's still another Picard movie supposedly in the works too. Not to mention Section 31, not to mention Academy, which I keep hearing back and forth if Section 31 is going to actually just be a series, a Paramount Plus movie, or a fucking movie.
Yeah.
So like
I can tell you what it's going to be regardless if it's a movie or it's
that's what it's going to be.
It's going to be money down the drain. That's what it's going to be.
Well, that's obvious. That's the layup.
So there's all this shit going around right now, and I don't think any of it's going to fucking happen. And some of this might just be because if they get something going before any sale of Star Trek finalizes, they have to probably honor any previous contracts, is my other guess.
And let's not forget that technically, because Star Trek is an Earthbound property, Apollo 13 is a prequel.
This is true.
You're making me think too hard.
Yes. Stop it.
Everything we're doing in space right now, even with SpaceX, we're in the middle of, that's a prequel to Star Trek.
Well, and that actually
go that way, everything between Star Trek and 10,000 BC is a prequel to Star Trek.
The movie 10,000 BC.
Raquel Welch is a prequel then to
Star
Trek.
It's funny you bring up space again because that kind of takes us back to the Tom Cruise thing because that makes me wonder, and some other people have been speculating, is Top Gun 3 going to be where he finally goes to space like he's been wanting to all these years?
I mean, that'd be pretty cool. If there's like space fighters, that would be cool. Not gonna lie. Like, let's just go full robot.
Is this thing going to turn into ID4 too?
Didn't he shoot footage in space already?
I don't think he has.
No, he hasn't done that.
He's been wanting to for the last decade, but like
But I can tell you exactly how that could happen in Top Gun 4 or Top Gun 3.
How would that happen?
That would happen, but he's a test pilot, right? That's his profession. He's a test pilot. That's what he did. That's what he did in the in the beginning of Top Gun 2, he tested this thing that can do Mach 10, right? Something that they've been trying to build, and this is actually real. They've been trying to build a space plane for years. Never succeeded. They have never made it actually happen. Still need rocketry. But if they were to come up with a design in the movie for something, a plane that can go into low Earth orbit and back again, and they wanted to be legit about filming that, boom, Tom Cruise in space.
But I
All
would
they
say
technically would have to do is get over the Kármán line, which is 10,000 kilometers, I think it is.
I thought the first movie that would do that would have been Fast and the Furious, putting a car up there, because that to me is the next step in that movie.
Well, Elon
Well, they
Musk
just
already
CG
stole
it.
that bit of thunder, so yeah.
Yeah, that you're right. Someone goes up there and gets Elon's Tesla and brings it back to Earth in a Fury ball. Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, maybe they can do that in a Planet of the Apes sequel.
Wow, we are doing a great mashup here. I would watch any of those.
I feel so bad for Andrew, who came here to talk law and is probably halfway falling asleep, and we're just rambling.
No. I love it.
1:30
Listen,
where
if
he's
you're
at.
if you're gonna cut, this is the perfect time to come up with ideas, and even at 1:30 a.m. wherever tired I am, I can still come up with better ideas in Hollywood.
Where are you?
The same place I've always been, in my apartment.
No, but where is it that
He's
it's
on the other side of the world.
AM?
Yeah, the
He's
other
in
side
South
of the
Cal.
world, Paul.
But with a K.
Yeah, I don't want to get you doxxed.
No, I don't think they can read moon runes, so I think I'm okay.
Okay. Would Andrew, would you be able to dive in? Not to bring the Carlin thing back.
Sure.
But did you hear us talk about Carlin and the whole thing about this AI imitating him, and whether an hour's worth of fake Carlin enters into the category of copyright IP?
An hour's worth of fake Carlin?
Yeah.
Did he give permission for them to do this?
The
Or?
estate has not. We've just been talking about that. We started the show with that, but
Well,
I'm
so there's
intrigued from a
unauthorized
lawyer's perspective.
Right. So there's an unauthorized use of his person, right? So I mean,
His voice.
His voice. Yeah, that's still that's going to fall under the likeness. Yeah. So image, voice, likeness. I mean, yeah. No, they can't do that without his consent.
Or the consent of his family. And given
Right,
that
or
they
the
didn't
estate.
get that, since his daughter has spoken out against it, then I think we can assume that here is now an hour wannabe AI comedy special featuring AI George Carlin. What kind of liability are we looking at here?
Well, yeah, if they're using that the whole kit and caboodle. I mean, if that's a special that's prominently featuring him, they state can claim the whole thing. In addition, any damages they might want to have for and especially if they sue in California for emotional distress. So, that's on top of it, right? So if this brought back emotional distress because they saw a loved one without their consent, I mean, there's potential damages are through the roof. If I was the type of ambulance chasing attorney, I mean, that's a gold mine right there.
Yeah, they didn't indicate if they were going to do anything legally, but
they don't decide just yet.
Yeah,
I mean, the voice, once again, even if it's just the voice, I'm just saying that voice could potentially cause
and they're
distress.
also profiting off of it because it's on YouTube,
Yes.
and it already has over 250,000 watchers. And I said, now
they
that
can
it's getting
capture
heat behind it, yeah,
they can capture all the profit. I'm just saying that it's the profit plus, right? Because you want to make them, you want to not just make them. If I'm an attorney, and I'm the estate, I'm trying not just to get the profit. I'm trying to make them disincentivized from doing this again. I'm going for punitive damages on this. I'm going for punitive because they did it knowingly. They did not have the consent. That's the thing. That's the thing you really need to stop with the corporations, and that's why punitive damages are important. Now, of course, most states after some tort incidents put caps on punitive damages, but you could go for the maximum. And I'm not saying that they couldn't possibly win, although the most likely outcome would be a settlement.
And if this is just some random dude, this is just like some random YouTuber, not a big corporation,
So?
because I don't know who has
How many
done
views
this.
how many views did the video get? I mean,
A few hundred
About
thousand
250,000 right now.
Yeah, I'll send you
250,000 right now?
I'll send you the story here because I think this would be a good one for you. Yeah,
That's enough there. And then once again, if it's up on YouTube, then you might be able to bring YouTube in on that.
oh boy, it's getting even more write-ups now.
Deeper
Holy shit.
topics. Deeper pockets.
Like I said, I think it's going to be up to 1 million by the end of this weekend because it's getting all the write-ups now in all the different papers.
Mhm.
But here's the variety version, variety source I had earlier for the story. There you go. So you can maybe do a video on it or something. Yep. You can check into that yourself. But yeah, as far as Star Trek goes, I think we'll all be surprised if any of these things actually happen. Or come to
I'll be
fruition.
less surprised if Top Gun 3 happens, because I think that Tom Cruise may actually really want to do that, especially after the previous Mission Impossible underperformed. That would have hurt his ego.
Yeah, I can see him. I agree with you 100%
100%
on that. Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think if anybody wanted this to happen, it's Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
And I think it's a bad move, but that's just my own personal opinion.
Yeah.
Because I think that last one was lightning in a bottle, and I think the fact that Mission Impossible 7 flopped at the box office was proof that Tom Cruise was not the anomaly here. The anomaly was you had a sequel to a movie that was one of the most iconic films of the 80s. That's why. At a perfect time for it, where people were starving for something that harkened back to something we've had in the past.
And
that was
the trailer promised gear porn.
That helped.
Yep.
What were you saying, Andrew?
I need to
Well,
trademark
that was a family
that.
film too. That was one of the only true family films at the time that you could bring your, kids to, or, go with your family. I mean, there really wasn't anything else out at the time.
Yeah. And Six had to take off to deal with some personal business. So I just want to thank her real quick. Said she had to leave for all her help this morning, as usual. But yeah, no, it did. It hit all the right notes at the right fucking time. And I don't think that, because it was just a certain element to it that just hit just right, that I don't know if they can do that again. And I think doing a third film right off the bat would be a mistake.
How long was it between the first one and the second one?
30 years. And that's what the Paramount president joked about in that interview. They go, what do you think about Top Gun 3? He goes, ask me again in 30 years.
Ah, that's what he meant by that. Okay. I'm not as smart as you.
Yeah. So he could have just been joking, but at that point I was like, that's the smartest thing you could react to that, because that's what you don't do. The next thing you do is Days of Thunder then, or something like that. Go to something else. If Tom Cruise is smart, you don't try to tap this well again, because you're just going to fuck it up.
Yeah. There's no way it can catch that lightning in a bottle twice.
But amongst the dumb money people in Hollywood, it's the simplest dumb decision.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a bunch of people go, look at the money that it made last time. Okay, let's do it again. It doesn't take rocket scientists to decide to move ahead with it. That's up to Tom Cruise to decide whether he can do something of quality.
Yeah. I mean, if he takes a few years, okay. I mean, if he takes a couple of years to actually get this movie off the ground, it might be better. And that's just because he rejects every bad script that comes through until he has something that goes, this is it. Because let's be real. The reason Top Gun 2 worked was because it kind of played it safe. It is no different than Terminator 2. It's the same fucking movie as the first movie, where you just move some characters around a little bit and you add a little bit more suspense and action and that kind of an element to it. And that's why it worked. They didn't really mess with the formula. But you're going to get to this third film. What are they going to do now? Like, send him to space like we were joking earlier, or what? Like, the whole point of the last film is that they were kind of like on their way out anyway, right? Like, that was kind of the...
No, the last film was a Star Wars plot.
Well, that part I'm talking about, but like the whole point of when they bring the characters in, like they say, like, we're getting to this point where AI is taking our jobs away, basically.
Yeah, like the general or the admiral from Mad Men in the beginning there, forget the actor's name. So basically, it's tell
Ed
that
Harris.
you're a dying breed.
No, not Ed Harris.
Over here, and like he was right. He's the one that's going to win out in the end. the last fighter pilot has already been born and is probably already trained. So certainly that was the message of that movie.
Well, then there's your plot for 3 is Top Gun versus the AI.
Yeah.
Can you beat the AI? And if you can, because again, the first Top Gun has no real plot. It's just they go to Top Gun and whoever scores the highest at Top Gun. That was the first Top Gun. The second one is the enemy has a new weapon and we have to blow it up. And we have to go through basically a trench run and then shoot it and blow it up. There, that's your second one. Third one would be, all right, now who's really better? Is the AI a better pilot than a human being? Well, you got to bring in Mitchell to come in, Maverick, to come in and prove that human pilots are superior to AI. That would be your third one. That's the logical one.
And by the time they do that, it's going to look like a rip-off of Mission Impossible, which is also Tom Cruise versus AI.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like you can't underestimate the power. You can't underestimate the power of those 30 years. I mean, all of that, all the nostalgia of that second movie is completely lost in the third. So all that power is taken out of the sales.
That's what I'm thinking is like, even if it is good film, it's still at best is what a $700-800 million box office. Maybe.
Yeah. The anticipatory market has already been spent on Maverick.
That's a well put.
And that's what I was saying about the idea of the iconicness of the film. It was just, because otherwise Ghostbusters would have done just as well too, but it's just a matter of timing because Ghostbusters came out just that much earlier. Because we're going to see now how Frozen Empire does, but the problem with that is it's up against some tough competition. But speaking of that,
the Ghostbusters Return wasn't that great a movie anyway.
Well, it was sandwiched in between theaters still slowly opening up and Spider-Man. See, that's the problem is like, we still had this point where people weren't quite sure or ready to go out yet. And people enjoyed the film and all that. And it was a huge, up step from the last one. And it did well enough that it covered its budget. And I think because Sony turned around and they greenlit this sequel like right away. And I think the reason for that is it did very well on video. See, that's the thing. In fact, they sold out of their special collector's edition in like one day. Like there was people already scalping them online for like $200 the next day. And it was crazy. So I think we'll see how well this movie does, how much interest is in it. I don't know.
So when is this coming out? Frozen Empire?
This comes out in March. March 22nd, I think it is. And I argued now that it's sandwiched between Godzilla and I can't remember if it's Kung Fu Panda or one of the Despicable Me's or Kung Fu Panda things. I said they'd be better off moving it to June where there's absolutely no competition really. And guess what? It'd be the 40th fucking anniversary too.
Mm-hmm.
And June 6th is on a Friday, which is the 40th anniversary of Ghostbusters.
Yes, but sadly, executives and marketing departments don't think that is as important to the core audience or core fan base as the actual core audience acknowledges it is.
And and here's my marketing kicking in. This is how you sell the movie. This summer, when it's so hot outside, go where it's cool. The Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire, this summer in theaters.
Yeah, that'd be great.
What I didn't understand in the trailer is all those icicles coming out of the ground and almost nobody got killed. Like, really?
It's a family movie.
It's a family film.
Okay, how'd they just miss them all? That's
because they moved. Okay, they just got out of the way.
That's right.
Just go with it.
That's right.
Just go with it.
Sorry,
I'm sure they'll say X amount of. I'm sure they'll say X amount of people got killed. We're just not going to see it. That's all.
They were warning sickles.
They were. Damn it, Andrew.
Well, there's a Canadian movie coming out. I forgot what it's called, but it's a cyclone. It's a Cyclonada movie. It's a comedy movie. It looks hilarious. The trailer looks great. But the cyclone just shows up and then wreaks havoc. It's quite funny.
So yeah, so since this comes out in March already, they're ramping up the Empire just put out their cover for Ghostbusters here. The two of them. Two glow-in-the-dark covers. There you go.
Oh, they put Janine in a jumpsuit. Nice.
They did.
Yeah.
And Slimer's back. Slimer's back too. Yeah. I knew that already, but
and it looks like we got the Ecto 1A in the background there.
Or I didn't even notice that.
It's hard to tell, but it looks like
Slimer's
it might
already
be the
back.
one and the 1A. Yeah.
They got. It looks like you put them together.
Yeah.
It's the same card. Yeah. There you go. Cool. Neat. Too bad it's not coming out in the summer where it actually has a chance. It's going to not get killed by Godzilla versus Kong. Because that's the problem. That's the same audience that's going to be going to see it, unfortunately.
And with the economy right now, you actually have to pick which movie you're going to see for in that quarter, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, let's get to some super chats. What do you guys say? Last call with Troy Picelli sends in a member chat for 10 months. Thank you, Troy. And thank you for the support. STR Red Wolf sends in $5, says, Hail Midnight's Edge in the morning. I just turned 47 this past weekend. Well, happy birthday.
Oh,
Why don't you let Bat Tom rest? Can I get the Joker wish me happy birthday? Old exploding cake, please.
Well. It's your birthday. I made you a cake, but Holly died in the process of the making of it. I'm sorry. No, I'm kidding, of course. Happy birthday, my friend STR Red Wolf. And many more.
How was that? It's been a while since I've watched Batman.
Oh, that was good. That was good.
Professor Haitian sends in a member chat for 33 months, says, I want to remind people to sub to everyone on the panel, including both of Paul's channels. Yeah, because he's got multiple personality disorder.
That is correct.
Not horrible. Pretty good.
Yeah, that's very nice of you. Yes, I see you, Mr. Professor Teehee, on both channels. That's I appreciate your loyalty.
I respect you as a voice artist, sir, but I gotta be honest in my critiques. So you handle the higher end stuff better. I'd let you do an Ewok. Don't let me do an Ewok.
No, Ewoks are mine.
Exactly. Now you get me in there, I'll do like Jabba or something like that.
No, that's fine. You can do Jabba the Hutt.
Oh, Chuda.
Jabba the Pizza the Hutt.
Pizza the Hutt. Well, if it isn't Lone Star and his sidekick Puke. AF Watcher 88 cents and $4.99 says, back in college, my bro and I, your bro and I saw George. Can't say the joke, but the punchline was, as soon as mommy leaves. So JJ come back. Well, it looks like he's trying to weasel his way back into this. And look, on the JJ front, we didn't really talk about that too much, but let's be real. What he's doing is he's desperate. And this is what I was trying to tell Andre. I was like, I'm not so sure that the intel that he had was accurate on JJ being out of this.
Oh, I didn't say he was out.
But that was the rumor we were told, is that he had his license had come out.
That they are no longer obligated to work with him, but he can pitch until the cows come home. And
see, and I'm under the impression
to Alex Kurtzman.
I think he's basically got a year, as far as I can tell, to get something off the ground, or he's done. Because that would be 10 years from 2016 is when the last Star Trek movie was released. So if he does not have something in production by 2025, I think he's done. I think there's no way he can renew, because that would be the 10-year window.
There was a band called 10 Years After.
But we know that the deal was a 10-year deal usually. That's what a lot of these are for, is either 5 or 10 years. So I think that's the case. It's as long as, because that's the way, remember the Fantastic Four thing. They kept renewing the 10 years as long as they made something, even if they didn't release it.
I think it was there.
Or 8 years, whatever it was. Yeah, I think it's similar here. And I bet you maybe it is 8 years. If it's 8 years, he's got to get something in production this year. Like, no ifs and buts about it. So, yeah. That's where that's kind of sitting as far as I'm concerned. I don't know specifically for sure, but that'd be my guess, is he is desperately, because that was kind of what I got out of the whole Tarantino thing. And the reason I think that didn't happen was just because Tarantino said no, from what I gathered from the interview we heard about recently. Because that's where JJ's like, I don't give a shit. As long as it's got my people in it and it's got my name slapped on it, we're good to go. That's basically the impression I got.
Yeah, because he's been losing projects left and right. So he's going to be even more desperate for Star Trek right now, because he doesn't have anything else, does he?
No, and not only that, that's what I'm saying. To renew the license, he just has to have something in production that is in his Star Trek, is my point. Yeah. Because that's the thing, is Tarantino was going to use all that cast. And that's what he said. Remember the clip I played you? He's like, He's like, but I want to do this. And he's like, you can do it. Nobody fucking cares. Just do whatever you want. Like, that to me sounds like JJ was pretty goddamn desperate just to get anything going. And when he knew for a fact that he had Tarantino's name attached to it, that was the only time we had any kind of interest in Star Trek in the last 5 years, up until Picard. But anyway,
it was indeed.
I don't think anybody else has anything to add to that. So moving on, Matthias Fredrickson says, fun fact, Skrotnisk took 7 years to make in the cellar for 20 Swedish krona. What is Skrotnisk?
Fun fact, Skrotnisse took 7 years to make in a cellar. Now, most people here watching aren't going to know what Skrotnisse is. That's one of the things that I grew up with. It's a
Swedish dish?
Primarily Swedish.
It's a movie
for children. Tom, remember this thing that I showed you that I was like, to understand
the weird thing?
Me,
yeah.
This is what I grew up on, and you saw like this horrible stuff that would have traumatized you when you were a kid. That was Skrotnisse.
Oh, that thing, yeah.
Yeah, that thing.
That was weird. It was
it
like
is on YouTube. If you want to see what I grew up with, then just look what's right there. Skrotnisse.
Picture Wallace and Gromit made by Zack
so
Snyder.
sorry, Andre.
Yeah.
It's pretty much Wallace and Gromit. Wallace and Gromit directed by Zack Snyder, basically.
Nah, I don't think there's no Zack Snyderisms in that.
It's just dark and drab.
Like, it would be more like it would be more like Wallace and Gromit directed by Robert Eggers. That's closer.
Fine.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that's the kind of stuff I grew up with. That's why He-Man was such a revelation. But yeah, it was quite an achievement to make it. It's like 3 hours long and stuff. Yeah, there you go. That's it. Oh, it's even with English subtitles. Fantastic.
That's the one you sent me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's why I sent it. It did have English subtitles.
Ut härifrån! Ut!
Was that a human hand?
Colorful Scandinavian animation.
It's like
a puppet.
puppeteering.
Yeah.
It is puppeteering. Yeah. So that's actually more like Sid and Marty Krofft, but yeah.
Look, there's even a hamster.
Yeah, that's weird. He made me watch this shit, guys.
It looks
That's
only
how he
like
tortures me.
25% nightmare fuel, like maybe 10%.
Yeah,
It
I've
is
seen
totally,
worse.
dude, that thing, it is totally worth watching. I promise you, if you watch the first 10 minutes, you're going to be into it.
I have to say that Pengu is addicting.
Yeah, that's Finnish.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's Finnish.
No, Pengu, I think, is Italian.
No.
Danish?
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, Skrotnisse, it's actually really, really good. Like it's going to, you grow up with that, you'll grow up dead inside or nervous wreck. Then you can take your pick.
Nowadays, I can handle that. Like if I saw that as a kid, though, I think that would have given me some nightmares.
Yeah,
Mario
you grow up
Trujillo
like
is here.
me.
It sends in $10. It says, let's not forget Adam Sandler and Will Ferrell were the only ones making comedies from the mid-2000s to 2012. Then their movies stopped making money. Oh, well, I'll rewatch Tropic Thunder. Yeah, they did, but there was other people.
Ben
There was
Stiller.
other people.
Ben Stiller made
Rewatch the
Meet
movie
Focker.
because it'll never get made again.
Yeah.
Switzerland. Pingu is Switzerland. Swiss actually
ears.
made something other than chocolate
Oh, okay.
and watches
And army knives.
and taking gold from
Nazis. Yeah.
Wow. This is Swiss. There we go. With Italian voices.
There was a time when Kevin Smith was very funny, too.
I love Pingu.
Hollywood Apocalypse sends another 14 South African rands and says, what's up with Paramount censorship of Shatner? Yeah, I noticed that.
I don't know this story. What is
Wait,
it?
what did they do?
Shatner and Paramount don't get along very well, I guess.
Well,
How do they
we don't know
censor
if it's
it, though?
Paramount or if it's Secret Hideout's advertising wing of their Star Trek shows to Paramount. That's different.
Yeah, it's probably
Yeah.
that's the issue. But
I think
either
it's the
way,
latter. Yeah.
in all kinds of like promotional material for Star Trek, where you have like all of the captains,
Yeah, they
and
never
all
include
of the
Shats.
best of
Yeah.
like 40 years of Star Trek. Captain Kirk, Shatner's Captain Kirk, is strategically missing.
Yeah.
You have Leonard Nimoy Spock. You have Uhura.
Wow.
You have the dude from Enterprise, like Scott Bakula. You of course have Cisco, but you don't have Kirk. He is suspiciously absent from all of it. He was just too problematic, I guess.
Yeah, there was that last advertising not that advertising spread with all these Star Trek characters, and Shats was missing.
Yeah.
Of all the people. What unbelievable gall. What tiny childlike mind.
Another reason could be because he's still alive, so they have to pay him probably more for his likeness than they do Nimoy.
Maybe.
But he points it out every time, or somebody points it out to him, and he's like, well, of course they treat me this way. That's why I won't come back.
Yep.
In so many words, usually.
But so this is not a new thing that has blown up.
No.
Okay.
No, it's the same old. It's just it just he commented on it again because he was asked to, or it was brought to his attention again, which he basically said, "Yeah, same old, same old."
Yep. Mr. Tickletrunk sends in another Canadian $2 and says, Keith David is Hordak. That's right. I forgot about that. And Shatner has trailer lines. Yeah, I thought that was his voice in the trailer. Somebody brought up in the chat, maybe he is playing Gwildor. I could see that, but I don't see him doing it in Shatner voice because Gwildor don't sound anything like Shatner. Gwildor sounds like Billy Barty. So like, you got to have somebody who sounds like Billy Barty. That's, I don't know. Shatner can't do voices stars like that. Yeah, Shatner just does one voice. Shatner.
But he does it well.
Yeah, I mean, when you want Shatner type voice, then you get Shatner. That's all there is to it.
What was that cop show he was on?
TJ Hooker?
TJ Hooker, that's right.
That's what I loved about the Showtime movie with Eddie Murphy and Robert De Niro, because he kept referring to William Shatner as TJ Hooker.
He played more episodes as TJ Hooker than he did as Kirk.
No, I know, but in the scene where he's trying to teach him how to go over the car and shit, he just kept calling him TJ Hooker instead of William Shatner, because he's playing William Shatner, but like,
yeah, Dana Carvey is on dispatch. Have you found your way on top of the hood of the car?
Have you seen?
He was in that show with Doug McClure, really briefly, a Western. It was a Barnaby Bay or something. I can't remember what it was. Just a terrible Western show.
Nobody else must remember Showtime. That was actually a pretty decent comedy during the age of, the Will Ferrell, Adam Sandler movies. It was Robert De Niro and Eddie Murphy. Robert De Niro's a real cop. Eddie Murphy is a movie star who's going to play a cop, so he's tagging along with Robert De Niro. But they have the scene with William Shatner where he's trying to teach them how to be cops because they're doing it for a reality show. So Robert De Niro's like, I am a cop or whatever. He's like, not a TV cop. It's actually pretty funny if you haven't seen it. It's kind of a lost movie, it feels like. Nobody else has heard of it. But all right. Moving on, we got DCB Titan here who says, what about Indigenous Magical Person, or IMP? Ooh, I like that too.
Imp. Yeah.
Yeah. Now we're cooking.
And before we move on, we are losing Mr. Chato.
Oh, well, let's see if he's got any super chats here. This is what happens when 6 isn't here. I'm so far behind on everything.
You just get lost in your work, Tom.
I do. I don't see any specifically for you.
Nope.
So, yeah, what do you got going on?
Nothing. I'm just, cranking out stuff, slowing it down, actually. I'm not going to do 6 videos a week anymore.
Well, you're getting old.
I am. And I don't need the money. So, yeah, I'm doing them as they come along. Lots of good, appalling news stories around. They just don't stop coming. I can't stop that. My video right now is very popular. Just a gobbledygook video. My continuing saga of presenting dumb young things to the public at large for your own amusement and entertainment. So please watch that and have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Oh, hello,
Mr. Tickle Trunk sends in a Canadian toonie and says Paul
just
Chato.
as Paul Chato.
Nothing else.
No, that's all you need.
Like Metallica said, nothing else matters.
I've been listening to a lot of Metallica lately.
And then he says, run, Paul, just run.
No,
That's probably good
another
advice.
$2. And I've been listening to a lot of Earth, Wind, and Fire. So
good for you.
Yeah, I love this stuff. Thank you very much.
I'm glad
everyone.
you discovered Highlander last week as well.
Finally. Yeah, I discovered Highlander. That's.
I'm curious what your next week movie is going to be. I make predictions sometimes. And
of what it is.
I've never been right.
Well, it's. I mean, I'm trying to dive in and watch things that I've never watched before, but have been kind of on my bucket list.
Right.
So I've been trying to do that.
No, I was glad you got RoboCop in there too, because that's like one of my favorites.
Well, yeah. I mean, what's nice about Tubi is you go, oh, wow. Oh my God. I haven't seen that movie in like decades. Okay, I'm going to watch that. Quite frankly, I hadn't seen The Last Crusade, the Indiana Jones one, except for in the theater. I hadn't watched it since. And so I watched that again and just thoroughly enjoyed myself.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It's just fun. I mean, people having fun in movies, knowing that, well, that's not particularly real, but who cares? It's within the limit of credulity. So let's have some fun with it. It's such a joyous movie to watch. Anyway, so
thank you for being here.
Thanks. Always. We'll see you hopefully on Monday, everyone.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Indeed.
Take care.
Take care, Paul.
Take care. We got Pilgrim Media who says JJ Soyboy making Star Trek very disconcerting.
Yeah, if it happens, it's certainly not great.
Yeah. I wouldn't put money on it.
It's not the first
Vegas
time
are
we
not
get
good.
a JJ Trek announcement, is it?
And we're our annual announcement.
Yeah.
Actually, it happens like every 4 to 6 months, but
it's once a quarter, essentially.
Sometimes.
Well, they didn't do it this one because we had the writer's strike. So
that's true. I'm gonna say, yeah. It seems to be more like a 6-month thing, but yeah.
We may get like 1 or 2 more this year then.
You never know. Dark King has been a member for 33 months. Says had to replace my AV receiver this month. Oh no super chats for me for a while. Totally understandable. Does Script Doctor work on stage play scripts? A friend is learning to write them, and I sent him to Script Doctor's Patreon. Well, do you?
Yes, I do. I haven't done much stage play work in good 8 years or so, but I am very familiar with the format and the craft and the structure. So if they are looking to get into that, they can reach out to me on the Script Doctor Patreon or DM me on Twitter at Script Doctor PhD. I'll be happy to shepherd them as best I can.
There you go. And then Sergeant Point Blank sends in $10 and says exactly what I was thinking this Top Gun 3 could be if they're not careful. Top Gun 3 versus ID4 aliens. Exactly. That's what I'm afraid of, is something turning out that bad. And then Patrick Robinson sends in $9.99 and says, I heard the director of Hellraiser reboot is remaking The Blob. You are correct, sir. Not excited. Hellraiser sucked, and the 80s Blob remake was perfect. We talked about this the other night on Midnight's Edge After Dark, which is a separate channel, kids. If you have not checked it out yet, please do, because we do a late show every Tuesday and Thursday. And let me allow you to get even more disappointed by this. David Goyer is producing and probably writing it.
Just like he was the Hellraiser remake, I believe.
Gonna ruin another one. I know. I love the 80s Blob too.
Yeah, that was one of those you just leave it alone. It's in the pantheon with like Alien or not Alien, Jesus. The Fly and a couple other the 80s remakes that were arguably better than the original ones. The Thing, thank you. That was the one I was trying to think of. So yeah, leave it alone. It had no right to be as good as it was in that 80s remake, but you had the right people behind it. In this case, I don't think you have the right people behind it.
No, you have. Yeah, it's going to be the slob, really. It's just
the slob.
Well, we haven't heard anything about the sequel for the Hellraiser remake, so I'm guessing that's a one and done.
I think so. I don't think it got that much. I don't even know if did they even get the DVD out of it that we're supposed to release. I don't know.
Actually, it got the DVD release in the UK and nowhere else. No Blu-ray release anywhere. It remains like a Hulu exclusive, which is a big mistake because that's how you don't monetize it.
Basically, at least the 80s one had Frank Darabont and Chuck Russell. The guy who helped remake Hellraiser and David S. Goyer are not even nearly that quality of caliber, or caliber of quality, I mean. So yeah, no. And I know you guys definitely probably recognize the name Frank Darabont. For those who don't recognize the name Chuck Russell directed Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and The Mask with Jim Carrey. So there you go. JD Ford sends in $5, says new Star Trek film to be set decades before Kelvin incident. So Prime, yeah. Because they claimed it started in Prime timeline and nausea, right? Right.
Yeah, here's the thing. They said that in the movie. That was the interpretation of the events. But here's the canon answer. This is something that has been confirmed by the writers. Certainly, I believe Simon Pegg even said something to this effect, because they have to, because it's complete separate licenses. That when the Narada went through the wormhole, that created a whole new universe, not just from that point onwards, but from that point backwards in time. So the entire universe is different from beginning till end. This is what J.J. Abrams meant with no one understands it and no one cares. So yeah, no, it's not Prime. By the way, Prime is another construct of the alternate license. We were all brainwashed to believe that the Prime timeline was the classic timeline, but it isn't. That's just a classic Trek.
No,
the Prime timeline is the Discovery timeline.
That's right. It's always Discovery timeline. So if they set a prequel 10 years before or decades before the events of 09, it's happening in
the Discovery timeline.
In the Discovery timeline that we're seeing now, that's operated by Secret Hideout.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they confirmed this. I used to have a video. I don't have it up in my thing anymore to where I can play it, but where they finally confirmed that, yeah, they have to be basically like 25% different because it's a different license.
Yes, which causes a lot of controversy because there's now 2 Star Trek LLC properties out there in existence.
Technically 3 if you count Kurtzman, but that's where the Kurtzman JJ line blurs.
Well, Kurtzman JJ kind of share a contract, which and that one's also messy too. So it's very weird.
So see, here's the thing: is my understanding of this now, because our old video is somewhat out of date because there is now 3 technical Trek timelines.
Yeah.
Yes. There are 3 Trek timelines, 2 of which are interconnected, and one is the Desilu original Paramount timeline.
Yes. There's classic Trek, JJ Trek, and
actually, we
Trek.
do have that in the video. Did
we get to Did we
yes.
Get to Trek?
The punchline is that the Prime timeline is a construct of the alternate timeline. It's in the video.
Okay. I couldn't remember if it was new enough or not.
Yeah.
I do remember working on it. That was a lifetime ago, it feels like now. Yeah. Patrick Robinson sends in $9.99, says, I heard
we got this one.
JD Ford sends in
$5.
You got this one? Okay, here we go.
This is where we are.
Okay. Sorry about that, people. This is what happens when 6 is not here. Chipmunk of Vengeance sends in £5 and says, just wait till we get AI being used to generate pornography. Oh, Lord.
Oh, I'm sure it's already happening on Olympus.
Yeah, there's already a website for that.
Probably. And I wouldn't know. Like I said, this AI thing is not going to hit ahead, not going to really register to Hollywood until somebody goes in and redoes something like the entire Star Wars sequel trilogy better than what they did with AI, and it gets a bunch of attention. Then they'll go, well, fuck, we created a monster now. It's like, yeah, you did, you dumbasses. So that's when people are going to finally take note, and they're going to go, okay, we need to make some rules.
Well, it'll happen, and they won't be able to do anything about it, right? So it's going to be at a point which...
Yeah. That's why I said we need to make some rules. Exactly. They can't do anything about it then, but they'll have to fix it for the future is what I meant. Sorry. Go ahead, Andrew.
No, I just, to me, what's fascinating about it, particularly being abroad, is that there's folks that are going to be able to create it in jurisdictions which are just going to give them the middle finger when they come to IP, that are just going to say, you know what? Yeah, we're just going to make it and it's going to be better. So when like Kazakhstan does, Star Wars better with AI, I mean, what are they going to do? Sanction them? You know what I mean? It's not really going to bother anybody.
Yeah, I know. As far as porn though, yeah. Rule 32 or whatever it is, 34, 32, 34. Can't remember. Destiny Captain sends in $4.99, says, If it happens, it will be Star Trek 14. Damn it. Star Trek 4 happened in 1986 and it was awesome. That's why I call it Star Trek 4 Destiny, Hampton. Because to me, this is not part of that. That was the voyage home. This is JJ Trek 4. Mexican Iron Man. How you doing, Mikey? He's supposed to pop in here, but he never did. Been a member for 33 months. Says Top Gun Plot 3. Maverick recruited by secret UFO UAP task force to defend Earth against demonic Intedaman aliens. I knew what I was trying to say. The twist. Da-da-da. Maverick team up with Scientology aliens for Save the Earth Interplanetary Task Force. Woot woot. Yeah. Sad part is, y'all, we might be closer than we think. That's what I'm afraid of. DCV Titan sends in a Canadian $2. Says, so Top Gun 3 is a remake of Stealth.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking when you were thinking the UAV fight, except for Stealth kind of sucked. Like, you could do a better
really
version of Stealth.
They literally take a break to go swim in a waterfall lake in the middle of this AI attacking people.
Stealth
is necessary. It's necessary.
Stealth is one of those ideas that you come up with when you're fucking stoned at like 3 a.m. with your buddy. And you're joking, but then you're like, okay, let's actually try to fucking see if we can, let's see what the guys at the office say. So they pitched it and they're like, let's do it. And they're like, fuck, that was supposed to be a joke. Like, now we got to write the son of a bitch. Like, that's what I think happened with Stealth. Like, because that movie is like, it's literally basically Short Circuit meets like Christine as a plane or something like that, really. I mean, it's like, how the fuck did you come up with this concept? Like, this is such horrible, this is like worse.
It wishes it was Macross Plus, but it's no. It's
yeah, it's bad. It was a dumbass idea that shouldn't have got past the pitch. But script would know how these stupid things happen in Hollywood. So.
Producer came up with an idea. I want to do this. Put out an assignment. Someone came in with the best take. They got the job. They wrote it. Bradley Cooper starred, and people forgot he's in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know you just mentioned it.
Isn't Jamie Foxx in it too?
Bradley Cooper, Jamie Foxx, Jessica Biel. Yeah.
Yeah. Jessica Biel was a chick. Yeah. Couldn't remember if it was Elba or Jessica Biel. But yeah. Jay sends in $5. Says, what is stopping them from playing the original Ghostbusters on the anniversary? I'm sure they will.
Probably would.
But the stupidity of this is you now have pushed the movie out there to this March date. It's a movie about cold. Guess what? People in the Midwest do not want to go watch movies about cold shit when they're freezing.
But it's also the earliest window you have at the start of the summer blockbuster, which is currently happens towards the end of March.
And as we've seen, though, the calendar, there's nothing for competition around there that I think they should have waited. They should have just pushed it off instead, because they actually moved it up a week because they flinched because Kong versus Godzilla moved up into its spot. So they were going to be opening up against it. So then they flinched, and instead of going, okay, well, fuck it, we're going to make the confident move and move it to summer, they made the inconfident move and moved it up a week. So it's like, oh, so you're going to get 1 week to play, and then you're going to get killed by Godzilla versus Kong.
The only reason I can see Sony not doing it in summer is because they know of a rival film that's coming out that has not been announced yet that they don't.
That's the only thing I can think of. Yeah, because I was looking at the thing and I'm trying to find my schedule thing here, and there is nothing really that big in June coming out that I'm like, I would rather put it up against something in June than I would against Godzilla versus Kong, especially after you just saw how well Godzilla -1 did. To me, it's just like, yeah, just get the fuck away from it. But I'm trying to find my thing here. I can't find it. I can't remember what movies are in June, but it's like, I think Despicable Me, I think, is at the beginning of the month. And then there's nothing until, shit, where'd I put it? Anyway, moving on. Go ahead and read this, Andre.
Yeah. Asa Khan wonders what happened to Kamran Pasha. So Kamran, he is working on a TV production, which is looking to be very exciting. We'll see what happens with that. And he has his own scoops over at his Patreon. So go check that out. Some of his scoops, or not his scoops, but his sources have information that has conflicted with some other information. But he has said that Favreau has more influence than anyone has thought. So we'll see how things play out. Time will tell. And then Darth Apathetic says for $4.99, listening to you all while snow blowing in this disgusting weather. Thanks for the entertainment. Yeah, it's been quite a lot of snow going on this year, many places. So glad to be able to keep you entertained.
Yeah, and so the reason is, and this is why, is because I got Bad Boys 4 there. That's why. See, what I would do is push Bad Boys 4. I don't think that's
with Ghostbusters.
Who's in Bad Boys 4?
Well, Martin Lawrence and Will Smith, but I don't think it's going to do as well because the third one did well, but after the slap, I think it's fun.
After the slap, yeah, I can't. Yeah.
So I agree with Script. I'd flip-flop them if Bad Boys 4 is ready to go, but I think they just started shooting that here after the strike. Because remember, you and I were like, is it even going to be ready in time? So I guess evidently they still think it's going to be out because that was what that thing, that other picture I posted was about.
Oh, they're cutting it close, I think. Yeah.
I think so. Unless, because otherwise there's some things getting shifted and moving as we speak. Like during the show, there's been some changes in some dates. So things are moving around still, but they're clearly sticking with this for Ghostbusters because they just put out the Empire thing and the toys are already on the shelves. It's ready to go. I mean, the movie comes out at the end of this next, or near the end of this next month here. So we're just over a month away from it. So we'll see. But anyway, moving on. Marksman 117B says the film Stealth was about pilots versus an AI plane. Yeah. Yep. Paulus Plane sends in 200 new Region Krona and says Top Gun Maverick and Goose, Top Gun Maverick The Next Generation, Top Gun 3, FAXX program, the Navy's Next Generation Air Dominance, and NGAD.
They better keep the budget low on that one, is all I'm saying.
See, that's the thing, is I just don't know. DCB Titan sends in $2 Canadian and says, so Paul isn't cranking it out anymore? That's up between him and his crank. I don't know. Joe Pat 87 sends in 5 and says, note the recent layoffs at Pixar. Iger really doesn't want to be the one who shuts the studio down, except well, I'm glad that Andrew's here because you were talking about this just a few hours ago, weren't you?
Sure. And the thing is, what's hilarious is in the earnings call, the last earnings call, he's like, we don't anticipate any more layoffs. It's like that week, 1 month later, they're announcing the Pixar layoffs. So, I mean, I think it's going to be pretty significant. But I mean, as you guys see from the schedule, I mean, what do they have? They have Inside Out 2 and they have Elio, and the performance of Pixar over the last 5 years certainly doesn't merit the size of their team, I'd imagine. I mean, their team, I think, is at 1,300, and they anticipate cutting it down below 1,000, at or below 1,000. So, I mean, based on how they've been performing, I think it's certainly merited. But we'll see how they actually execute it. I was talking about the WARN Act a little bit earlier, and they'll have to give 60 days notification because it's a fairly large layoff. But it's definitely going to be a major cut.
And hopefully there's going to be many more cuts on Disney because, if anything, they're too bloated and they don't have enough talent among that bloat.
Right. And I don't know what they were thinking coming off of the strike and everything else. And with this production schedule that they have coming up, like where they were going to find the cash. But certainly when you're trying to justify the existence of your operational unit, Pixar has a sorry excuse. I mean, Elemental and Turning Red, Lightyear.
It's very redundant with Disney now, especially ever since Lasseter did take over both departments and they became practically interchangeable at that point.
And the key here is the positions they've said they're going to cut, which was the latest news, was they're going to cut primarily from the Disney Plus segment. So it seems there probably is a lot of overlap there in jobs at Pixar that were tasked specifically for Disney Plus, and then probably at the evil Disney corporate headquarters where they have probably overlapping positions. So maybe there's some efficiency, God forbid, that they're trying to find there at Disney.
Interesting. Well, thank you for that insight, Andrew, and I'm glad you were here because I hadn't really gotten a chance to check into it yet, so I didn't know too much about it. But not surprised that the layoffs are part of this because how else are you going to save money, as we were talking about?
I mean, he needs $2 billion. He said $2 billion. So I mean, there's nothing else to cut other than jobs at this point.
Exactly, other than selling something. Yeah. Fletcho McTaggy sends in 10 Canadian dollars and says, we just passed the Napster phase of AI where the ramifications are only now being understood. Before that led to a generation of online piracy and eventually the streaming era. Yeah, but this is a different animal, Fletcho. And I get where you're coming from, and this is a good comparison to a point. But yeah, Andrew, legally, I mean, are we entering kind of a new phase of
Well,
'cause I mean,
the
now you can
law, the law is the
yeah.
slowest thing to. This law is the
Right,
last
right.
thing to catch up. Like it is literally the last thing to catch up. I mean, these people are still struggling to understand the internet. I mean, the precedent that I mean, I'm not even joking. This isn't me being facetious. They're finally able to come up with good decisions regarding just the internet, and judges have finally been able to kind of understand it and get it. But we throw AI into the mix, and they're going to be far beyond. The law is going to be beyond it, and certainly it's
Well-
going to develop faster than the ability of the law to catch up.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
only
like-
until damages start hitting into the tens of millions of dollars will the law be able to catch up at a pace. But even then, it's still going to be too slow.
Okay,
Right,
let's.
but go ahead, Tom.
I was just going to say, I was going to throw a scenario at you, like, because we had the George Carlin one earlier, which we kind of did already cover. Let's cover something more like a criminal case situation or something. What if all of a sudden you have an audio recording and the person's like, oh, that ain't me, that's AI. Now you have that ramification added into this mix. Like, the law is going to have to catch up at some point, don't you think? I mean, I guess
well, of course, yeah, because it's going to lead to false accusations. I mean, it's already possible. I mean, there's you can see it happens with famous people and politicians. They've already got them making statements. I mean, you can go find TikToks of the presidents playing video games. So you can have like Trump, Biden, Bush, like playing Fortnite and stuff. But you can easily use that to fabricate something. All you need is I think at this point you need something like 30 minutes of audio of their voice just saying, random things, whatever, and you can clone it. But that threshold's going to go down soon enough. They'll just need a minute.
Give one
or
example
so.
of that. That's happened already. Actor Mark Ruffalo, that idiot, like shortly after this thing with Epstein, right? When it transpired from the documents that Trump was the least guilty of all. Not only was he the least guilty, he was completely exonerated of anything.
Yes.
And still, there was like this AI picture that was generated of him and a bunch of girls on a plane, presumably to the island, that Mark Ruffalo, of course, jumped to the conclusion was real and shared to high heavens. Of course, when confronted with the fact that you're actually spreading disinformation and AI-generated pictures here, and he got community noted and everything, there was no real apology, other than like, oh, this is Musk's fault, too much disinformation here.
Well, and that's the danger. The danger is, and this is the real danger legally, is that especially the EU has passed a lot of laws regarding disinformation, and we've seen that they're selectively enforcing that. Right now, they're
selectively.
Right now, they're choosing to pursue actions against Elon Musk and Twitter specifically, but they don't pursue against any of their mainstream media, any of the larger networks that actively chase and pursue stories based on false news, false reports, and never issue corrections, never fix that information, never provide anything as clear and informative as a community note. So you can see that. I mean, I think the Twitter case, the X case, is going to be the clearest case of selective enforcement, period, particularly with the new law in Europe regarding disinformation. And what is disinformation is so subjective. The definition of disinformation is so subjective that that's a noose you can hang all of your political enemies on. It's actually quite scary. Speaking of political enemies, I see Tom has
I am the president, and I'm here to comment on the images of Mr. Trump and the women that he was with, the young ladies. And all I could think of when I saw this was, how does their hair smell?
And criminal charges.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, he's very lucky that for the essence of parody, it's not illegal to impersonate the president.
Sure. Yeah. No, to be very clear, yeah, there's nothing wrong with parody. There's nothing wrong with entertainment, and I fully support fair use, every single, fair use here. But that is true. And the other thing is, this is the really concerning thing for me. The thing I'm really worried about is courts technologically are really bad about evidence. If you guys watched the biggest case that one of the first that I covered was the Kyle Rittenhouse case, where the judge is pinching and zooming an iPhone photo, right? To look at stuff. I mean, this is where we're at when some courthouses, and I think judges will not believe or understand that an AI could have created a photo. They'll just enter it into evidence, and you're going to be able to very much fabricate criminal scenarios regarding a lot of folks. So it is, to me, it's very concerning. I think AI has some implications in the legal field, particularly regarding evidence, that are going to be difficult for authentication.
Well, it's funny, like the Rittenhouse thing with the video thing, because this is something people who are kind of nerds like me and our whole like restoration community of sorts, or whatever you want to call it. Like we already kind of had a problem with this stuff, right? Where we already knew that messing around with digital AI to like make a video look a certain way messes with the original video. Like I can't believe that the original source was not brought into this to begin with. And then when you have that, it's like, well, yeah, that's the way digital video works. That's why, to me, film is way different, because look at the older, to take it back to Disney, there's a lot of older Disney films where they used like some of these same kind of cleanup methods on their film, and they would literally erase like lines and stuff from the movie, and people didn't notice. So there's shit getting lost throughout the years. And it's like, yeah, these things can manipulate and change things without you realizing it, because it doesn't know the difference. It can't tell the difference between what is a line and what is a scratch. So like, that's the problem.
And what to me is going to be very interesting is this may be a great case for analog going forward.
Yeah.
Speaking of analog, what's up, Mike?
But you can also you can fake analog too. That's a problem now with the digital side of things, because that's what gives you the problem, is now you have a pristine digital master that you can create and then create an analog version of it, and nobody would know unless they were able to look for those telltale signs that it was from a digital source.
Fair enough. Yeah, I can see that point.
Yeah, see, I mean, that's what I mean. In a court of law, this is going to get really fucking messy, because
it's going to require a lot of experts.
Women going, he said he loved me and he was going to marry me and he would take care of our baby.
Wait, what? What?
And further that, you can, I mean, already you can fabricate text messages very, very easily, and that's not going to go anywhere, and people are already fired for less. So, I mean, if you're in Hollywood or anywhere else, any position of power, you can be fired easily based on something that somebody queues up in their browser and creates a fake text message that said, the rabbit chicken, did this to me. So, it's a very concerning era. Honestly, it makes me very, very concerned for the future.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how you cover some of this stuff that's upcoming, and especially if you do something about the George Carlin thing. Send me the vid; I'll definitely want to.
Yeah, I will. I will. Now that I've seen it, I'll talk about it. But certainly, if they decide to pursue legal action, as I think they should, they could have some serious damages there.
I think so. I think there's got to be some grounds here. Because
and not only that, I was reading the article, it's impinging upon all of those other specials, so they can have lost revenue for those other specials, not just the profit from this creator, but the lost revenue. They can argue that revenue was taken away from those other specials. There's a lot of potential damages there.
There is, except frequently throughout the entire bit, AI George Carlin says that he is AI George Carlin.
That doesn't matter.
That's the only thing.
Oh yeah,
but
I mean, they're going to argue it, but yes, it's.
Yeah, that's not a full defense, is what I'm trying to say.
I think it's going to fall more into where Paul was saying, like, if it was a 5-minute bit, that's one thing, because that's kind of the way that the AI is presenting it in the beginning of the argument, is that it's no different than when another comedian impersonates somebody. Yeah, but the difference is you don't have a comedian doing a full-on impersonation for an hour, except for the one time that I can think of, and that was when Will Ferrell did the thing as George W. Bush. But he's also a public figure at that point, so there's no legal grounds that really Bush has to stand on to do anything. That's the problem he has with that situation, outside of, like, unless Will Ferrell had done something damaging to him, which he didn't, because it's clearly Will Ferrell playing George W. Bush. We all could tell. So this instance, though, you could play some bits of this without the AI mentions, and you could probably trick some people into thinking this is George Carlin material. Especially somebody who doesn't know that he's dead.
Right, and it'll be clipped and it'll be taken out of context, right?
Exactly. So, like, we have a lot of, I think a lot of strange kind of things that have never been addressed before that might come.
And once again, it's not always, and I say this time and time again, it's not always whether they win the lawsuit. It's the fact they can bring it, and oftentimes that's right. A punishment in and of itself. It's just bringing it in the first place.
Yeah, Monkey Jeebus, I hate to break your heart. That wasn't really Bush. I know he's kidding. DCB Titan sends in $2 He says, "You mean after the cuckening?" I'm not sure which part you're referring to, but I think it's Disney related because the next one is as well. Hollywood Apocalypse sends in 14 South African rands and says, "Why don't Disney spin off Fox and MCU keep 51%?" Well, this is the one thing that everybody's kind of been tossing about, and I think I talked to WDW Pro about this. Like, one of the only things that they have right now that's not so deeply tied into everything that they probably could sell off would be the MCU. They couldn't even really afford to sell Fox right now because, first of all, they never get what they paid for it. Second of all, they kind of need it now for Hulu side of things to have because they need more than just their Disney stuff to maintain a streaming service. But the MCU is the only thing that's not tied into so much shit in their parks and everything because they already had the outstanding deal with Universal and all that kind of stuff. That's one of the few things they have that they could sell off, but I just don't see them doing it.
By the way, it wasn't a deal. That was a lawsuit they lost. So,
yeah.
They could. I guess you're right. They could. I mean, the Guardian stuff.
The only thing,
they'd have to have a license. They put a license on that. But yeah.
I mean, there's a few things that they probably created since then, but I mean, since you've got the Sony Spider-Man deal already out there, they have all the Fox properties underneath MCU now. You could get a pretty penny for the MCU considering what they paid for it. Even in its worst state that it's in right now, it's still probably worth 2-3 times what they paid for it with all those movies involved. Because that's the thing, you'd have to sell the whole kit and caboodle. And yeah, they could make a pretty penny off that, but that'd be the only thing that right now that they have outside of property that they could probably sell. What do you think, Andrew, Mike, on that?
I mean, I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for them to screw up Star Wars so hard with this feminist reboot. They had to sell it to Saudi Arabia. That's my money is on that one. But
I don't think they can. That's what I'm saying. They've got so much shit tied into certain things that I don't know if they can just
they can't afford to sell Marvel because it's worth too much as an asset on the balance sheet. B, who the hell is going to buy it or want to buy it or have the cash to buy it at the price?
Oh, I bet you a lot of people would.
Well, and C is that so long as Iger's around, there's no way that chip is going to be taken off his board.
No, I agree with you. I'm just saying, from the discussion I had with like Pro and those guys, just legally with all the red tape you'd have to go through, because all their other properties are tied into their parks and everything and certain other avenues.
You're right, from a not having to spin it off and create like a really complex corporate structure or like a ton of licenses and whatever else. It would be the simplest from a divestment standpoint. The simplest doesn't mean they'll do it, and I wouldn't put money on them doing it.
Muppets are the only other one we mentioned.
Sure, Muppets, maybe.
And I think they actually have more Muppet stuff in the park than they do MCU stuff, actually. I don't know if they still have it or not, but they had that whole Muppet show deal. Or what, the 3D Muppet show. I don't know if it's, I don't know. So long ago, probably not. And knowing them, once they bought the Muppets, they took it out. Just because they're idiots. Yeah, that's interesting, Hollywood Apocalypse. But yeah, at this point, I don't think they're going to sell anything anyway. Fletcho McTaggy sends in $10 Canadian, says this may have been covered, but as deep fakes get more advanced and legit politicians can deny legit footage as being fake, which will muddy waters on which is real. And this actually goes off what we were just talking about.
This is the problem. This is exactly the problem. So what's real, well, you can just say, oh, it's a deep fake. And what is fake, well, everyone will believe it's real. It's going to be a real mess. Especially look, in 10 or 20 years when everyone's running for office and, at some point they've had a photo on social media, it's game over. I mean, it's just done.
Yeah. Well, and I think digitally, if you have somebody who knows how to look for it, you can kind of find, can't you find certain evidence in the code or whatever of whether or not it's been something that's original or if it's a second generation or what have you? I don't know. I'm not up to speed on all the techie stuff.
I'm just a simple country lawyer.
You're just a simple country lawyer. You don't know. That's what we need Paul here for. Sadly, he'd be better for that question. But maybe somebody in our audience knows the answer to that better than I do anyway. But we need to move on, so let's keep rolling here. Thank you, though, Fletcho. That's a very interesting point, and that's kind of what we were just discussing before. Paulus Plain sends in 200 Norwegian krona and says, Stealth had a fit and hot Jessica Biel, plus the U.S. 2 programs of 6th generation fighters. Next Generation Air Dominance, the Navy's FAXX program, the Air Force's Go America Defense Budget. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm not a big plane person, so all that was Greek to me. LDG gifted 5 memberships. Thank you for that, LDG. We appreciate the support here. JD Ford says you can justify anything, e.g. finishing Ralph Bakshi's Lord of the Rings Part 2 using AI trained on Part 1. Not saying it's ethical, but very sneaky logic. Yeah, you could.
But it would never look anything like what Bakshi would have actually done for Part 2. That's the other part.
No. Unless you have all the elements and know what he was gonna do, then yeah.
You'd have to clone his mind and imagination, and AI can't do that.
Yeah. He's still alive though. LDG gifted 10 more memberships. Holy crap! Holy, thank you so much, LDG, for the 15 total memberships. We appreciate that. And with that, we have caught up on everything. And I want to thank Andrew because it's been a while. Glad to see you again, buddy. For popping in here as tired as you are.
Happy if I'm ever awake late night, I'm happy to pop in, and I appreciate your persistence.
I'm gonna footnote: if you're ever awake late at night and there's not a bunch of chicks at your pad, then you might log on.
Now you're breaking my NDAs here, Mexican Iron Man. Come on, man.
Yeah.
But no, it's been a pleasure, guys. And I'll drop out here. I'm gonna try to stream when I wake up, but who knows? But thanks. It's been really good talking with all you guys. Always fun talking with you, Mike, Script, Tom, Andre, and yeah, I'll catch you guys next time.
Excellent.
Take care of yourself. All right. Well, thank you so much, Script Doctor, for being here as well. Anything you want to plug on the way out?
Yeah, tomorrow night, 7 p.m., episode 2 of Scripts on Saturdays with my co-host, Price of Reason. We'll be discussing a screenplay that's been circulating around called A Guy Goes to Therapy. So tune in for that. It's tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern on my channel.
Interesting. And then we got Mikey. What do you got going on besides looking sexy in that shirt?
Thanks. In 14 minutes, I'll be on Echo Base Network talking about I have no idea what with Nick Lynn.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, tell the boys I said hey.
All right.
And with that, unless he sends me a link too, I'll see you there. Sometimes he does. Andre, anything we got going on? I'm sure you got a video in the cooking.
Yeah, we got multiple videos in the cooking, so be sure to check back this weekend for that. And other than that, thanks to everyone for hopping in. Thanks to Paul for being here earlier. Thanks to Script Doctor. Thanks to Cultured, as always. And, of course, thanks to Andrew of Legal Mindset. Always a pleasure to have him here. And, Tom, unless you have anything in particular to plug?
Yes. I also want to thank Drunk 3PO for being here.
Oh, yeah, of course. Of course.
He doesn't have anything to say, though, evidently. So with that, as you say,
it is time for some koalas in the rain.
Wait, I think he's going to say something.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given. Koala, koala, koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given.